Immortal Cultivation begins with time management. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyright or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 676. Entering the dungeon. Since the head of Yuzheng had given the order, the Jin and Shenron showed their magical powers. Countless spells, magic weapons, and sword energy intertwined, and soon the peak of Shiwa Mountain was covered with smoke and dust, and snowflakes flew everywhere. Qiu Changtian secretly observed and found that the quality of this batch of Jin and Shenron was really high. Whether it was the level of true essence, combat awareness or skills, they were far superior to the cultivators of the same realm. So that's it, I know what the demon cult is planning. Let the three Jiao immortals use a big move here to raise these Jin and Shenron and the entire Shiwa Mountain to the ground. The orthodox San King, who lost the seeds of cultivation, will probably be unable to recover directly. After about a few hours, everyone finally broke through the thick ice layer and began to push around. Here! Someone suddenly shouted. Qiu Changtian turned his head and looked, and it was Luoyan who spoke. That's right, Ling Yunpo and Luoyan are both me in the future line, and I think I already know how to open this golden secret realm. Everyone hurriedly followed the sound and saw that Luoyan had cleared a corner of the ice layer. It seemed to be part of some altar. He used the acquired 5 elements divine light, and the ice layer quickly melted, and soon the whole altar was revealed. This was an altar of ancient style, built with unknown stones, and many places lacked polishing marks, as if it was just piled up. There was an obvious dent on the high platform at the top of the altar. The head of Yuzheng took the jade doll to compare it, and found that the size was just right, so he inserted it in. Sure enough, as soon as the jade doll touched the tent on the high platform, it seemed to take root and stick to it immediately. Then, a golden light like a thread appeared from the altar, slanting upwards and piercing into the clouds, deep into the sky, like a thoroughfare. Seeing this, everyone suddenly realized, I think this jade doll is the key to the secret realm of the Golden Palace. As long as it is placed on the high platform, this road can be opened. However, in ancient times, for some unknown reason, the jade doll was knocked off the high platform, which led to the closure of this passage, and the Golden Palace secret realm was immediately inaccessible. With the snow covering the altar for tens of millions of years, the altar and the jade doll were finally buried in the ice, and no one knew that there was a secret realm here. The head of Yuzheng swept his consciousness and tried to step on the light path. When he stepped on it, the light immediately condensed into substance, forming a golden road to the sky. Then, the head of Yuzheng suddenly staggered for a moment, as if he was bounced back from the light path by an invisible force. As expected. He stepped back a few steps in embarrassment, and said calmly, now that the Lord of the Golden Palace is temporarily absent, the ban is activated, and only Jin and Realm Masters can enter and participate in the test. Master Jing bowed and asked, what is the Lord of the Golden Palace? In the past Baiyuzheng competition, the 12 people who won the foundation building realm in that duel were the 12 lords of Baiyuzheng. The head of Yuzheng replied, in ancient times, the human race had to fight against many foreign races, so the major secret realms and treasures were occupied by capable people. For example, the Sunday and Moon twin swords have corresponding Sunday and Moon sword masters. The Golden Palace secret realm also has a Lord of the Golden Palace. If you want to find the 7 treasures Chuan Yuan secret realm in the future, you must be a Lord of the Golden Palace to find it. He made things clear in a few words, and the Jin and Masters suddenly realized it. Then, the Masters of Kunlun and Penglai were depressed. No wonder there are only 6 people in our 2 sects this time, but you have 6 people in Shushan alone. It turns out that he wants to occupy half of the positions of the Lord of the Golden Palace. Thinking about it carefully, the meaning of the head of Yuzheng is actually quite obscure. In ancient times, the human race had to compete with foreign races, so the competent one gets the throne, and he was very particular about fairness and efficiency. Now that the world is the world of the human race, there is naturally no need to strictly adhere to the competent one gets the throne. The whereabouts of the Golden Palace secret realm was first discovered by Shushan, so more places are required. Thinking that the head of their own sect must have accepted this condition, the monks of Kunlun and Penglai had nothing to say, but just silently looked at the sky-high light road, and their minds were burning again. Of course, Qiu Changtian, who had a complicated mind, naturally thought more deeply. The head of Yuzheng said that he had to go in and accept the trial to become the Lord of the Golden Palace. According to common sense, he must pass the trial. There are 12 lords of the Golden Palace. This time, the 3 pure ones of the Orthodox Church brought a total of 12 people, which is exactly the same number. From this, it can be inferred that the pass rate of these 12 people must be 100%, otherwise the 3 pure ones of the Orthodox Church would never send only 12 people. However, this does not make sense. Is the test of the Golden Secret Realm so simple? As long as you were a Jindan Realm true person, you can pass it after coming here. Obviously, it is unlikely, unless you refer to the Bayesian competition. The internal test of the Golden Secret Realm is also designed based on competition. A large number of competitors, only the top 12 can become the master of the Golden. Of course, this is also based on the ancient human race as the competent one takes the throne. Now, needless to say, the 3 pure ones of the Orthodox Church jointly concealed the news of this secret realm, so the 12 Orthodox monks must be able to become the 12 masters of the Golden. It is nothing more than a matter of ranking. In a flash, Qiu Changtai had already realized it. The Bayesian competition was probably because the 3 pure ones of the Orthodox Church had not yet thoroughly studied the mechanism of the secret realm, so they sent a large number of monks here according to the requirements of the secret realm, and finally decided the 12 masters of Bayesian according to the normal process and got the news of the Golden Secret Realm. This is obviously risky. Because such a grand event is to be held, the news will almost certainly leak out, thus attracting the covetousness of the demon sect. Therefore, when they arrived at the Golden Palace Secret Realm, the 3 pure ones of the Orthodox sect further began to try to internal digestion and complete monopoly, which is also that choice that any sect will naturally make when facing interests. Just when Qiu Changtai was enlightened, he suddenly saw a black fog coming from a distance. Not good. The head of Yuzheng suddenly shouted, "Go!" The Jindans and Rum of the 3 sects were all startled, and at this time, a figure suddenly rushed to the Tongtai Light Road first. It was the King Feng Zhenren of Shushan, Ling Yunpo. Zhenren and Zissou of Jiangxia followed subconsciously, followed by Zhenren Luoyan and Penglai, Jin Lun, who was about 5 or 6 steps behind that too, and was holding Zhenren Shilili of Dongyu in his hand. The latter had not yet reacted and was completely dragged up by Luoyan. "Senior brother," Zhu Yingluoyan said in shock, and hurriedly grabbed Qiu Changtai's hand, and then rushed to the top of the altar. The remaining Jin and Zhenren woke up from their dreams and rushed to the altar, but they saw a heavy black fog suddenly descending, instantly covering the entire altar. It was Wei Dongliu's Wangxai Bang Zhuexin sword formation. "Don't fly the sword." Wei Dongliu's cold roar came from the black fog. "Run! Get out of the light path from the altar." Above the black fog, the elders of the demon cult had already rushed down and fought with the Shushan elders who wanted to intercept them. Chapter 677. Golden Palace Secret Realm. Although Wei Dongliu was shouting, not all the demon sect masters listened to him. A few stubborn ones insisted on flying their swords to rush towards the light path, and they immediately suffered the same fate as the head of Yuzheng sect. Almost the moment they entered the light path, they were hit by the recoil force of the same force, and their heads were broken and bleeding, and they fell down. But Qiu Changtai had no time to observe or think anymore. Zhu Yingluoyan took his hand and ran on the light path. The two ran faster and higher, as if the light path was actually an escalator going up. Soon, the two passed through the clouds and rushed into the sky. Above the sky, there was a group of golden and magnificent palaces, which looked like the Cloud-Top Palace, magnificent and unparalleled. Qiu Changtai could confirm that when everyone was approaching Shiwa Mountain on the treasure ship before, there was no similar palace in the sky. In other words, this palace was most likely the Golden Palace Secret Realm. The higher they climbed, the steeper the light path under their feet became, rising from 30 degrees to 50 degrees, and then to 70 degrees. In the end, the two had to hold onto the light path, otherwise they would inevitably be attracted by gravity and slide down. Although this light path seems invisible, it is actually smooth and not slippery. It feels like plastic foam and has a lot of friction. The only problem is that there is no place to hold on. If they continue to tilt, they will fall down sooner or later and lose the opportunity to enter the Golden Palace Secret Realm. "Brother," Zhu Yingluoyan suddenly said, "if I can't hold on later, I will fall down first, and then shoot at you with the 9 Fights Thunder and Fire technique. You block it with the Tianyuan Yeki sword and use the recoil force to continue to rise into the air." Qiu Changtai almost vomited blood. "Junior sister, your 9 Fights Thunder and Fire technique is extremely powerful. If I am really stupid enough to use a flying sword to block it, will I go to heaven or the west? Don't be so whimsical, okay?" He thought so in his heart, but said, "No. How can I leave you behind? Brother." Zhu Yinglian said anxiously. Instead of both of us losing, I'd rather sacrifice first. As long as brother can successfully enter the Golden Palace secret realm, it will be considered an explanation to the sect. Speaking of sacrifice, Qiu Changtai immediately remembered the silly junior sister who blocked the sword energy for him in the Jiao sword formation. She wouldn't think that if she sacrificed for brother, she would be better than me in this aspect, right? However, what junior sister said was indeed correct. If senior sister Lu also failed, and junior sister and I fell down here again and failed to enter the secret realm first, it would mean that all three Kunlun people would fall behind. Moreover, there are also demonic monks involved this time, which means that the original 12 people of the Orthodox Church just match the number of the Lord of the Golden Palace, but now someone has to be eliminated. If all three Kunlun people miss the Golden Palace, it would be a small matter to embarrass the Kunlun sect, but the problem would be that my undefeated golden body would be broken. How can he be the leader of the Orthodox religion at the time? How can he lead the righteous people? People don't care about the situation of the Golden Palace secret realm. They will only say Qiu Changtai has a first-grade golden elixir, but he lost to so-and-so at the gate of the Golden Palace secret realm, and the prestige of my elder brother Qiu will definitely be greatly hit. Thinking of this, Qiu Changtai was about to agree, but he couldn't say it when he got to his lips. For such a thing, junior sisters, you had to sacrifice for it. How could an invincible character do it? Absolutely not. He was about to refuse, but suddenly he saw that the light path finally tilted to 90 degrees, almost completely vertical with the sky and the ground. In this way, the two of them couldn't catch the light path at all, and immediately fell downwards. Zhu Yinglian suddenly twisted his body, and actually directly activated the Phoenix True Blood, and used the secret method to transform into a Phoenix Dharma body, trying to catch Qiu Changtai in the air. As a result, as soon as he turned into a phoenix, a powerful restriction was pressed down on the light path, and the two of them were quickly smashed to the ground. As the sky spun and the earth spun, there was the sound of falling violently into the water. Qiu Changtai quickly emerged from the water, spitting out several mouthfuls of water, and then carried Zhu Yinglian, who had also fallen into the water, out. Falling from the air into the water did not cause any damage to the cultivator's strong body, but the last band that came down obviously caused great harm to Zhu Yinglian, so that she was still in a coma at this time. After the spiritual sense check confirmed that she was temporarily fine, Qiu Changtai picked her up and then looked around. I saw that the two were in a lotus pond, the surrounding water was clear and clean, and the lotus was also beautiful and pleasing. Surrounding them were pavilions and towers in the style of immortals, with eaves and columns inlaid with gold and jade, and carved into life like flying dragons and phoenixes. Qiu Changtai looked up and saw that the sky was clear and blue, without a trace of clouds. In other words, my junior sister and I most likely above the clouds. Is this the secret realm of the Golden Palace? Yes. Kunlun Mirror replied, that light path was originally carrying you upwards. As long as you hold on until the last moment, you will fall into the Golden Palace. I see, Arjing. Qiu Changtai said with a smile, but I didn't know this at first, and I was so scared, so why didn't you tell me just now? Seeing his fake smile, Kunlun Mirror suddenly felt guilty and said quickly, it's like this. I just communicated with the Kunlun Mirrors in Ling Yunpo and others. They said that in the future, when you entered this secret realm for the first time as Qiu Changtai, you did not receive Arjing's prompt. In this case, if I give you a prompt, wouldn't it violate the uniqueness of history? Really? Qiu Changtai asked doubtfully. Yes. Kunlun Mirror said sincerely. Although I can't find any evidence, I always feel that this broken mirror is observing me. Qiu Changtai secretly suspected that it wanted to see if I would abandon and sacrifice junior sisters you in times of crisis. What a joke. How could I, Qiu Changtai, be the kind of scum? He walked out of the lotus pond holding Zhu Yinglian, and suddenly heard a voice in his mind. In the Golden Palace, the number of people is greater than 12. After the requirements are met, the 12 palace masters will be decided. Meet the requirements. What does that mean? The first thing Qiu Changtai thought of was the chicken-eating mode, that is, let everyone in the Golden Palace secret realm kill each other until only 12 people are left. But then he thought, if it is really this mode, why use the ambiguous words such as after meeting the requirements? Wouldn't it be enough to just say free elimination until 12 winners are left? He was puzzled, but felt that the rules seemed not that simple. But what's more important at this time is that after hearing this voice, other cultivators must have subconsciously thought that as long as the number of people is less than 12, they can get the position of the Golden Palace Master. In other words, in this secret realm, except for me and my protagonist companion, the rest will be my enemies. Even the cultivators from Shushan and Penglai, chapter 678. The test of the true Lord Liandu. There are 12 masters of the Golden Palace, and if more than 12 monks enter, it means that competition and elimination are inevitable. According to Qiu Changtian's speculation, the Orthodox sect originally arranged 12 people to enter, on the one hand to avoid excessive competition, and on the other hand to prevent being discovered by the demon sect. After all, the more people who know the secret realm, the easier it is for information to leak out. On the contrary, if the scale is controlled in the hands of a few elites, it will be relatively safer. After all, the probability of a traitor among the elites is the smallest. Unfortunately, the news leaked out in the end. And judging from the relationship between the righteous and the evil sects, the next competition and elimination will be extremely cruel, and it is likely that they will attack and kill each other as soon as they meet. Qiu Changtian pinched a Taoist formula with his left hand, and evaporated the moisture on himself and Sister's Yu, and then held her and walked out. Thinking carefully, the Jin and Shinran who enter the secret realm can be roughly divided into two types. The first type is to take the initiative to attack and kill others. The second type is to try to hide themselves and avoid conflicts. After all, as long as there are no more than 12 people left, it will be fine. Unless you have absolute confidence in your own strength, you don't have to take the initiative to fight others. It is actually more beneficial to preserve your strength. However, the rules of this Golden Palace secret realm really only require us to fight each other until only 12 people are left. Qiu Changtian is deeply skeptical about this. After walking forward for a while, several maids suddenly turned out from the front and said with a smile, "Young master is here, my master invites you." Qiu Changtian. He soon realized that these maids were all illusions and had no physical existence. "May I ask who your master is?" He frowned and asked cautiously. "My master is the true Lord Liandu." The maids said with a smile, and then came to surround Qiu Changtian on both sides and led him forward. Turning a few corners, they entered a main hall. The hall was magnificent, with 2 rows of tables and many rare fruits displayed on them. There were also fairies playing the piano, singing and dancing in beautiful clothes, and the sound of stringed instruments was endless. The one sitting in the main seat was an old man wearing a 7-star crown, a blue crane robe, and red shoes. At the table below, there were several Jin and Shinran sitting. Qiu Changtian scanned with his spiritual sense, and saw that 2 of them were unfamiliar demon sect Shinran. One was a Jin and Shinran from Shushan, the Taoist name seemed to be called Miaodan, and the other was Luo Baiyuan, the senior sister of Kunlin Jindan realm. Although the 4 people looked calm, they could not hide their uneasiness. 2 more distinguished guests. The old man in the seat clapped his hands and smiled. "Come, please sit down." Qiu Changtian was about to answer, but he felt a force that pushed him to sit next to Luo Baiyuan without explanation. "The person in your arms has damaged his spiritual sense." The old man said with a smile, "Just drink half Lianga's wine and he will recover." "Thank you, my lord." Qiu Changtian did not doubt him, and after scanning the wine in the cup, he fed it to the junior sister in his arms. After a few breaths, Zhu Yingyan woke up slowly, propped himself up and looked around. After a moment, she realized that something was wrong, and asked Qiu Changtian a few questions in a low voice. "I don't know either. I think it's a test arranged by the secret realm." Qiu Changtian replied, calmly tasting the food and wine on the table. Seeing that his senior brother was so calm, Zhu Yingyan felt relieved, but just glanced around vigilantly. After a while, a round of singing and dancing ended, and the old man waved his hand to ask the musicians and dancers to withdraw, and said with a smile, "I'm the true Lord Liandu. I asked you to come here, but I have something to ask of you." The true lords looked at each other, and each was speechless. It's not that no one wanted to leave before, but as long as someone tried to get up, they would be immediately pressed back to their seats by some invisible force. Acting so domineeringly, it is clear that he is forcing things, and calling it asking for something is just a fig leaf. So the Miaodan Xinren from Shushan asked with a grim expression, "I wonder what you want from Xinjin. We're so weak in magic power that we're afraid we can't do what Xinjin has asked us to do." Ha ha ha. Xinjin Liandu stroked his beard and laughed. "No problem, listen to me first. In the Golden Palace, the 12 main positions are in the hands of the 12 Xinjians stationed in the secret realm. If you want to take a position, you must pass our test first. Of course, there were more competitors in previous years, so there are often several rounds of tests, which will screen out a large number of competitors. Only 24 people entered this time, so there will only be one round of tests. Only 24 people entered? A thought flashed through Qiu Chang's mind. In other words, the demon cult also sent out only 12 people. If the Orthodox cult sent out 12 people in order to control the scale as much as possible and avoid the news from leaking out, then why did the demon cult, as a latecomer, also choose to control the scale? Combined with the statement of Xinjun Liandu, it is not difficult to conclude. The more people there are, the more difficult the test will be, in order to eliminate as many people as possible. The number of participants is limited to a minimum of 12 in order to reduce the difficulty of the test as much as possible. In other words, the basic difficulty of the test itself may have reached a level that we find it difficult to pass. The test on my side is very simple. Liandu Xinjun said with a smile, I made a bet with Jiao Xinjun next door that I will choose one person from among you to teach a Taoist method. Before noon tomorrow, if anyone among you can guess who the person I have chosen is, then I will change the person I originally chose to the person who guessed correctly. As for the original chosen person who was guessed, it will be regarded as a failure in my trial. It is impossible for him to get the position of golden from me. He can only try his luck with other Xinjuns. Of course, if he guessed wrong, the person who guessed wrong will also be regarded as a failure in the trial. On the other hand, at noon tomorrow, if someone can tell me who the chosen person on Jiao Xinjun's side is, I will hand over the position of golden in my hand to him. On the other hand, if someone on Jiao Xinjun's side guesses who my chosen person is, then you will all be regarded as having failed the trial. What if both sides guessed correctly, or neither side guessed correctly? Zhu Yingyan suddenly said. Whether both sides guessed correctly or neither side guessed correctly, it would still be considered a failure in the trial. Liandu Xinjun said leisurely, of course, the teaching of Taoism is still valid. Qiu Chang's so troublesome. If the test content is a battle royale, where both sides are eliminated, it would be simple. Now it is a battle of wits and strategies, which is obviously much more troublesome. Simply put, it is to try to find the selector of Jiao Xinjun on the opposite side, and not to let Liandu Xinjun's selector be found by the other side. It is a psychological game of guessing identity like werewolf. However, due to the possibility of informing Xinjun in advance and then changing people, this test is much more complicated than guessing identity in werewolf. You know, as long as you guess the selected person on your side, you can replace the person who learned Taoism from Xinjun with yourself. For example, if I find out that the chosen one is the Miaodan Xinren of Shushan, I can secretly inform the Liandu Xinjun and replace the chosen one with myself. Because of the existence of the above rule, everyone has a strong enough motivation to do this. In this way, not only do we have to compete with the Xinren on the opposite side, but we can't even trust our companions here. If it's Sister Zhu, she shouldn't hide it from me, right? Chapter 679. Sister Zhu wants to take over the situation. As the words of Liandu Xinjun fell, although the faces of the surrounding Xinren were still ugly, many people seemed to be relieved quietly. The reason is also very simple. If they are to compete in strength, they are not sure that they can beat Qiu Chang's. But if it is a competition of strategy, that is another matter. Zhu Yingyan also thought so. At this time, she was eager to try, and she wanted to find the selected persons on both sides immediately, and then be humble in front of her senior brother, just like her senior brother had done to her countless times. In addition, I have also discussed it with Jiao Xinjun. Liandu Xinjun continued to smile. In order to prevent you from over-relying on violence, you are not allowed to use force to force the other party to confess in the palace under the jurisdiction of Jiao Xinjun and me. After all, we are not Baiyuzheng here, please try your best to win with strategy. Zhu Yingyan's mind turned slightly, and he understood the other party's implication. If the Baiyuzheng secret realm tests the martial arts of the cultivators, then the Golden secret realm is more intended to test the wisdom of the cultivators. She filtered the rules again in her mind and realized that she had to control the identity of the other party's chosen person and her own chosen person at the same time. Figuring out the other party's chosen person is certainly the key to winning the final victory. But if the other party guesses her own chosen person, it will lead to a loss for both sides. There are two ways to prevent the latter situation. One is to conceal, that is, not let the other party find out the real situation. The other is to deceive, that is, let the other party find out the false situation. To do both, you must know who your chosen person is, and then cleverly apply the conversion strategy to change it. Just make sure that the other party's answer is wrong in the end. In this way, deception is actually more efficient than concealment, because in order to find out the other party's intelligence, you must communicate and test each other. As long as you communicate with each other, you will inevitably reveal information to the other party, so concealment is an inefficient and passive approach, and active deception is more likely to work. Zhu Yingyan looked at the people at the scene again. There were 6 people present. My senior brother, senior sister Luo and I were naturally on one side. We could fight for Master Miaodan from Shushan, but the 2 masters of the demon sect, seeing their undisguised hostility, it seemed that they had no intention of cooperating with us at all. I am afraid they were dreaming of guessing the chosen one on the other side and taking the chosen one on this side at the same time. That would be troublesome. According to the rules given by Master Liandu, the existence of these 2 people is definitely the kind that is more likely to cause trouble than to help. It would be great if they could be killed in advance, okay? Master Liandu suddenly smiled and said, I have informed the chosen one of the person I have chosen. Next, you can discuss freely. After saying that, the old man raised his sleeves, stood up, and left with a laugh. Zhu Yingyan immediately perked up, his 7 orifice exquisite mind worked quickly, and his eyes swept over the people around him. If it's not me, who is it? The 2 demon masters showed an angry look at the same time. Master Miaodan of Shushan had a half-green and half-white face. Senior sister Luo Baiyuan had no expression. Senior brother continued to drink from the wine glass, swishing the wine from time to time. Senior brother. What a time it is, and you are still showing off here. Zhu Yingyan had no choice but to speak up. I'm the immortal king at Kunlin. Although I don't like to brag, you must have heard of my name. Humph. Before the 2 demon immortals spoke, Miaodan Immortal of Shushan spoke first. Who doesn't know the Zhu family of Tianan and the Phoenix Fairy? Zhu Yingyan frowned slightly, realizing that this Shushan immortal seemed to intend to not help either of them, so he said in a cold voice, in this case, you should know that my talent and strength are among the best among you. If the immortal Lord Liandu selects disciples and passes on his mental based on strength and talent, then my senior brother and I have a high probability of being selected. However, the reality is that neither of us was selected. The reason is actually very simple. The immortals on the side of the immortal Lord Jiao must have the same guess. In the worst case scenario, if by noon tomorrow, there are still people on their side who have not guessed the answer, then in the case of blind guessing, the most people will definitely choose my senior brother and me. Master Liandu must have considered this in advance, so he did not choose me and my senior brother. Can you understand this statement? Wait a minute. A certain demon master suddenly spoke. Even so, may I ask your name? Zhu Yingyan asked suddenly. The Taoist name is Mo Yan. The Mo Yan Senran said bluntly, your analysis is correct, but Xinjin Liandu may not be as you expected, right? Maybe he sees that the first-grade golden elixir is very rare, and his love for talent is very strong, so he chooses Senran Chang'an first. It's very simple. Zhu Yingyan said calmly, because Xinjin Liandu mentioned that he and Xinjin Jiao were making a bet. What is betting? I don't need to explain to you, right? Since it is a dispute of wills, winning or losing is more important, otherwise there is no need to make this bet. In addition, even if my senior brother and I have chosen, our identities will be transferred immediately if someone guesses it. Therefore, instead of holding on to what kind of person will the Taoism be passed on to, it is more realistic to hold on to in this bet. Zhu Yingyan finally sneered, of course, if someone judges others by themselves and thinks that Xinjin Liandu will be as stupid as him, that's another matter. The face of the demon flame master suddenly darkened. He wanted to take action, but he remembered the warning from the Liandu master, so he could only hold back. Qiu Changtian was drinking contentedly beside him, thinking that this man was far inferior to junior sisters Yu in eloquence. What many people don't know is that language and thought are connected through emotions. If you can't refute the other party verbally, your thoughts will often waver. This is the instinctive habit of human beings in social interaction. As long as junior sister can control the situation, the next step will be much easier. In short, the chosen ones are not me and my senior brother. Zhu Yingyan finally said, I have a suggestion here. If anyone already knows that he is the chosen one, you can tell me in private. As compensation, I will teach him a Taoist method. As soon as these words came out, everyone present changed color. Zhu Yingyan's meaning was very clear, that is, to take away the man's position as the chosen one, and then compensate him with the Taoist method that he should have received. Your Taoist method may not be better than the one taught by Liandu Master, right? Miaodan Master of Shushan asked again. Maybe. Zhu Yingyan said slowly, but as long as you tell me, I will definitely give it to you. And the chosen one of Liandu's Hinjin, even if it is you now, it may not be you by noon tomorrow. Bluff. Mo Yanxinrun sneered again. If it were me, I would not tell you. What can you do? Nothing can be done. Qiu Changtian suddenly said, you cannot use violence here, but it may not be the case there. Chapter 680. Perfect strategy to break the situation. When Qiu Changtian spoke, everyone finally lost their composure. Is this a threat? Another demon cult master asked gloomily. No, this is a reminder. Qiu Changtian said calmly, in terms of not letting the other side guess the identity of the chosen one, our interests are the same. For the sake of common interests, we can temporarily cease fire and cooperate. If we put this aside, we will have nothing to talk about. The whole audience finally quieted down, and everyone began to think carefully about the meaning. After a while, the demon flame master slowly said, I'm not the chosen one. Me neither. The demon cult master next to him said the same thing. Ha ha. Maldansen of Shushan suddenly laughed. I'm not either. It seems that the chosen one is among you, Kumlin. Her laughter was full of sarcasm, so Zhu Yingyan also frowned. Just as he was about to speak, he suddenly heard an arrogant voice from outside. So you are here, Mo Yan. Great, who is the chosen one here, can you tell me? 4 Yingadeo monks walked in swaggeringly. Zhu Yingyan keenly noticed that a trace of extremely obscure fear and dread flashed across the face of Mo Yanxinren opposite. Qiu Changtian also looked closely. The Ingadeo monk who led the group looked unfamiliar and had never seen him before. However, judging from the aura released by the other party unscrupulously, he was probably at the Yue level of the Jindan realm. Hey, Han Yuan is here too. The other party suddenly noticed Luo Baiyuan, and came over and stepped on her desk with a provocative smile. Mogyu, take your foot off. Luo Baiyuan frowned and said, no. The other party seemed to be deliberately trying to disgust her, and laughed, come and hit me if you have the guts. Qiu Changtian was thinking beside him, thinking that according to what Lian Doshinjin said before, using force here should violate some rules. The other party seemed to be extremely arrogant, but in fact he was tempting senior sister Luo to make the first move, which meant that he was not as rough as he looked, but rather a scheming guy. It stinks. Luo Baiyuan did not fall into the trap, but stood up and dodged, covering her nose with her sleeve, and walked to the side of Zhu Yingyan. This person's feet are still so smelly. Senior sister, come here quickly. Zhu Yingyan performed the universal clear sound small light technique and placed it directly on Luo Baiyuan's body, and warned, come here quickly, be careful not to get poisoned. Puff. The Shinran Myodan on the opposite side immediately laughed out loud, and seeing that Shinran Magyu was looking at her with an unhappy face, she said teasingly, Magyu, you were a cultivator, how come you still have athlete's foot? Shinran Magyu's face turned black, but he was not stupid enough to argue with the other party directly on the topic of athlete's foot. His eyes quickly swept across the audience and soon fell on Qiu Changtian. First grade golden elixir, Changjiang Shinran. He said in amazement, it is said that he is born with a clear mind of Taoism, and is cherished by Kumlan Ziwei sect master. How is it? Did this Lian Doshinjin designate you as the chosen one? Can you tell me, senior brother Qiu? Sure. Qiu Changtian nodded readily, it's me. You can tell me my name when you go back. Demon Bones Shinran was staring at him provocatively, and his eyes widened slowly after hearing the words. After a moment, he sneered and said, want to trick me? You underestimate me too much. I didn't, and there is no need to lie. Qiu Changtian said calmly, you don't dare to believe it, that's your business. Clumsy provocation. Demon Bones Shinran said coldly, his eyes swept over everyone again, and suddenly laughed, you just keep hiding your head and showing your tail. Anyway, I have found a perfect way to break the situation. Before you fail completely, you can struggle as much as you want. Ha 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 ha. After that, he took the other 3 demon sects Shinran and left in a swagger. The 6 real people who stayed in the venue looked at each other, and no one spoke for a while. Brother. Zhu Yingyan used the method of transmitting sound into secret to communicate with Qiu Changtian and asked, he said that there is a perfect solution to the problem. Do you think it is true or false? There is no perfect solution to the problem. Qiu Changtian pondered for a moment and replied, but there must be a solution to the problem. Do you remember the number of demon sect real people who came in with him? 3, what's wrong? Zhu Yingyan said hesitantly, and suddenly realized, could it be that? If he can form a complete degree of control over the 3 demon sect real people, then excluding the possibility of the other 2 demon sect real people on our side, they only need to guess one of the 4 of us afternoon tomorrow. Kyo Chang Time replied, in this way, the Ingido will definitely produce a person who guessed correctly in this test. If so, can we do the same? Zhu Yingyan immediately had an idea, but then he frowned and rejected it. No. Yes, it is indeed not possible. Kyo Chang Time replied, even if we can convince Senior Sister Luo, it will be difficult for Master Maldan of Shushan to agree to cooperate with us in this way. After all, she only has a 1/4 chance of guessing correctly, while we at Kunlun have 3/4. If she thinks that someone on the opposite side is the chosen one, and I have already guessed this person, then she probably won't be willing to change her answer. Zhu Yingyan sighed, after all, letting Kunlun win has no real benefit to her. That's right. Kyo Chang Time said in a deep voice, for Master Mogyu himself, the probability of guessing correctly is only 1/4, so he is still thinking about finding out who it is, so that he can take victory into his own hands. But if he really guesses wrong, it can also ensure that the Ingido wins this test, and he can also get the reward from the sect. However, for Master Maldan, if she guesses wrong herself, Shushan will not reward her for Kunlun's victory. This is why we can't follow their example. In this match, the composition of the opposing team is too advantageous. Zhu Yingyan sighed and said, unless we can find a way to transfer the identity of the chosen one to the 2 demon cult monks on the opposite side, and prevent them from notifying the demon bone master, otherwise the opponent will definitely guess it, right? That's probably hard to do. Kyo Chang Time replied, because since the demon bone master on the opposite side said so, I think he is sure that the 2 demon cult monks will not dare to disobey him. This can be called a perfect strategy to break the game. Forget it. Zhu Yingyan sighed and said, since Senior Brother can analyze the Demon Bone Master's mind thoroughly, I think he already has a foolproof plan, right? I dare not say it's a foolproof plan. Kyo Chang Time smiled, if the opponent doesn't guess it, I can only be 99% sure at most. Chapter 681. Using the rules to play rogue. Zhu Yingyan didn't know where her senior brother's 99% certainty came from, but she decided to go and investigate in person. On the way to Jiutinjin, she asked Luo Baiyuan seriously, Senior Sister Hong Yuan, you seem to know the leading cultivator of the Ingido. Can you tell me some specific information about him? There's nothing to hide. Luo Baiyuan thought for a moment and said honestly, Mogyu Shinron is the youngest son of the current Ingido sect master Fushi, and his real name is Uki. Among Fushi's children, this person has the highest aptitude for cultivation, but also the most stubborn. He once publicly slandered the Ingido sect system as too weak, and even heard it from the ears of the White Bone Demon, who severely reprimanded sect master Fushi. Deliberately defaming himself? Is it to eliminate the suspicion of the brothers and show that he has no intention of inheriting the position of sect master? Zhu Yingyan guessed secretly. Too weak? What does that mean? Kyo Chang Time asked curiously. You should have heard of the sect system of the Ingido, right? Luo Baiyuan frowned and said, they implement an extremely cruel elite competition system. No matter who the disciples are from, they are all divided into 2 categories based on their combat power. Among the elite disciples, those in the Foundation Establishment realm are called judges. Those in the Golden Core realm are called palace masters. Anyone who can enter the ranks of judges and palace masters can receive preferential support from the sect's resources. Isn't this very normal? Zhu Yingyan said strangely, even in our cunning, there are in and outer disciples. It's different. Luo Baiyuan shook his head and said, the inner and outer disciples of our Kunlun are divided according to the disciples' aptitude for cultivation. Their teams of judges and palace masters are qualified according to their fighting strength, and they have to fight every now and then. The fierce ones advance, and the gentle ones retreat. The Immortal Sword ranking of the Shanking sect of Shushan was originally modeled after the Yanlo ranking of the Ingido, but Shushan only rewards the top swordsman on the Immortal Sword ranking, and those who fail to make the list will not be punished. However, in the Ingido, if you fail to make the Yan ranking, and fail to enter the ranks of judges and hall masters, not only will your cultivation resources be restricted, but your master will also give up on training you, which is almost equivalent to losing hope on the path of Taoism. Therefore, the fierce internal competition is not comparable to that of ordinary sects. When the Demon Bone Master was in the Foundation establishment stage, he publicly claimed that this system was called survival of the fittest, but in fact it was a disguised way of handing over the power of the sect to the elders. Because the elders can concentrate resources on their favorite disciples, these disciples can quickly become stronger, and thus it is easier for them to enter the ranks of judges and hall masters than other disciples, and the result is that others will never get ahead. Zhu Yingyan was silent for a moment, revealing an expression of "Is there anything wrong with this?" In her opinion, it is natural for the master to decide how to train the apprentice according to his qualifications. The Ingido used combat strength to determine how much resources to distribute, which had already destroyed the tradition of master-disciple inheritance to some extent. As a result, this demon bone jumped out and said the deprivation is not enough and it is best to prevent the master from interfering in the training of the apprentice, which was simply a heresy. Qiu Changtime could fully understand what the demon bone meant. For example, if the master-disciple inheritance system of the orthodox religion is like the ancient poetry and books passed down from generation to generation and family monopoly of education, then the Ingido has some innovative meanings of imperial examination system and selection of talents. What the demon bone claimed was that the imperial examination system itself was not fair enough. Because some people can afford to read books, they are born with a higher starting point than others. Going deeper in this direction, it is the category of popularizing literacy and compulsory education, which is definitely far superior to the previous two in terms of the progressiveness of thought. In a word, Luo Baiyuan continued, when the news reached the old demon Baigyu, his father was scolded. Mogyu was scolded by his father, but he was not convinced, so he simply withdrew from the judge team and began to form cliques and factions among those non-judge disciples to build power. About 60 or 70 years later, he took his own subordinates to challenge those elite judge disciples again. As a result, he won more than he lost, and replaced half of the judge team at the time. Qiu Changtime. So it turned out to be a counterattack and slap in the face, right? Didn't you say that there was no problem with the original system of the Ingido? Only elite disciples can enter the judge team. Mogyu, this guy, took non-judge disciples and defeated half of the elite judge disciples, which is enough to prove that the former is stronger than the latter. Then the reason why that former failed to become a judge must be that there is something wrong with the system of the Ingido. Just by listening to what Luo Baiyuan said, Qiu Changtime could imagine how aggrieved the high-ranking officials of the Ingido were at the time, and he did not hide his slapping of his father, the head of the Fixie sect, and the White Bone Venerable. In short, this demon bone true man is definitely a troublemaker, and I still have to remind my junior sister to be careful later. The palace of Jiao True Lord is next to Li and Do True Lord, so the three of them arrived there quickly. Let's go. Zhu Yingyan looked at the hall in front and said calmly. Qiu Changtime followed junior sister Zhu into it, and saw that everyone in the hall was also sitting upright, only demon bone true man was lying in front of the table, looking unruly. Oh, are you here to spy on the enemy? Seeing the three Kunlun true men stand up, he said lazily. You can come to investigate us, but we can't come to investigate. Zhu Yingyan frowned and said. No. Demon Bone True Man said simply. Zhu Yingyan was startled when he heard this. He saw two demon masters suddenly rushed over with a table, forced the three people out of the hall without saying anything, and sealed the whole door at the table. Kunlun people. If you want to force your way in, just use the Taoist magic to blast it in. The wild laughter of the demon bone master came from inside. Don't worry, we will definitely not fight back. Isn't this a scumbag? Zhu Yingyan looked at Qiu Changtime in disbelief. Junior sister, why are you looking at me? Qiu Changtime was puzzled. Brother, how do you think we should deal with this situation? Zhu Yingyan said angrily. It is definitely impossible to force your way in. Qiu Changtime replied, look, there is a demon master who is holding the table with his body. If you use the Taoist magic to force your way in, it will inevitably cause harm to this person, which will violate the rule of no violence. I have never seen such a shameless person. Zhu Yingyan gritted his teeth. However, although we cannot use Taoist magic to break the door, we can still use some reconnaissance Taoist magic. Qiu Changtime reminded. Zhu Yingyan also calmed down, pondered for a moment, and then stretched out his hand to pinch the Taoist formula, and then several flaming birds appeared in his palm, fluttering into the air and flapping their wings, and soon turned into tiny sparks that could not be detected, flying towards the direction of the hall. Chapter 682 I told you it was me. Several firebirds flew into the hall, and the three Kunluns stood outside, talking in low voices. What are we going to investigate? Luo Baiyuan asked curiously. The situation of the other two people. Zhu Yingyan replied. The other two people? Since the number of people will increase the difficulty of guessing, there are 6 people on the side of True Lord Liandu, and there must be 6 people on the side of True Lord Jiu, otherwise there would be no need to bet. Zhu Yingyan replied, True Demon Bone brought 3 people, which means there are 2 other people who he cannot control for the time being. Indeed. Luo Baiyuan thought, if all 6 people are from the demon sect, then as long as each person guesses one and assigns them, we will definitely lose. Yes. Zhu Yingyan suddenly concentrated, I found it. The 2 sword immortals from Shushan are locked in the backyard by these people. Sword immortals from Shushan. Qiu Changtai laughed dumbly. When faced with a situation where you can't use force, you are really helpless. Wait, the hands of True Lord Mugi are coming. Zhu Yingyan suddenly said, they suspect that the Chosen One is between the 2 people from Shushan. So that's how it is. For the Demon Bone who has complete control over his subordinates, it is obvious whether there is a Chosen One among the 4. If not, then it can only be among the remaining 2 people in Shushan. She thought quickly, if the 2 people in Shushan refuse to confess, then only 2 subordinates need to be dispatched, each guessing one, and the identity of the Chosen One can be transferred to the 4 people at the demon sect at the expense of 1 person. However, they still need to guess the identity of the Chosen One on our side, and they cannot sacrifice manpower for the time being, so they try to force the 2 Shushan real people to give in. That's right. Luo Baiyuan nodded and said, Junior Sister Ning, you have to keep this reconnaissance spell. If the other party obtains the identity of the Chosen One, we must know it as soon as possible. As for who will submit the answer to the True Lord Liandu after getting it, the 3 of them tacitly agreed not to talk about it for the time being. Anyway, as long as it falls into Kunlun's hands, it will be fine. Returning to the True Lord Liandu, I saw that the True Lord Miodan of Penglai and the other 2 demon real people just sat in their original positions without saying anything. Obviously, the 3 of them had communicated with each other to no avail, so they simply ignored each other. Zhu Yingyan also returned to his original position and sat down, continuing to frown and think. Who will be the Chosen One on our side? Wait, is there a possibility that it is actually among the 2 magic masters? If so, it means that Mogi pretended to come here to investigate the enemy, but actually used the secret voice transmission to interrogate and coerce the 2 magic masters. After getting the result, he was already sure of victory, so he claimed that there is a perfect way to break the deadlock. I understand. Zhu Yingyan continued to look at the 2 magic masters on the opposite side, wondering who it would be. Let's take a step back. Of course, Senior Sister Luo and I can each guess 1 person and transfer the identity of the Chosen One in advance. Although doing so will result in 1 person being eliminated, at least it can ensure that the other party cannot guess the correct answer. As for the identity of the opposite side's Chosen One, let Senior Brother submit it, so that Senior Brother can get the position of the Lord of the Golden Palace under my guidance. Although Senior Brother was promoted, I won. Zhu Yingyan thought so happily, and secretly contacted Luo Baiyuan through secret voice transmission. Okay. Luo Baiyuan asked hesitantly, but have you discussed this with junior brother Chan Zheng? No need. Zhu Yingyan said confidently, it won't be too late to tell senior brother after we get the identity. I think I'd better tell you. Luo Baiyuan thought to himself that no one knows his wife better than her husband. Junior brother Chan Zheng said that her personality was too tough and strong, and it turned out to be true, so he said gently, Junior sister Ning, if your inference is wrong, then both of us will be eliminated because of our wrong guess. If the identity of the chosen one among us is not in the hands of the 2 demon sect true immortals, why would Mogi say that there is a perfect solution to break the deadlock? Zhu Yingyan asked back, in order to cover the 3 of us from Kunlun and 1 from Shushan in the final guess tomorrow, at least 4 people will need to guess at the same time. Don't forget, the chosen one on the opposite side is one of the 2 Shushan cultivators, and at least 1 person has to be sacrificed here. In this case, the number of people he can mobilize is insufficient, and there is no question of a perfect solution to break the deadlock. Junior sister, what you said makes sense. Luo Baiyuan smiled bitterly, but this cannot be a reason for you to act without telling Chan Zheng. You are Taoist couples after all, right? This was indeed reasonable, and Zhu Yingyan calmed down, thinking that it would be better to show this plan to her senior brother and let him comment on it. So she transmitted the message again and told Qiu Changtai about it. Ah? Qiu Changtai was stunned for a moment, don't guess yet. Why? Zhu Yingyan frowned and asked. Because the chosen one is not the 2 demon cultivators. Qiu Changtai replied. If it's not them, then who would it be? Zhu Yingyan asked in surprise. It's me. Qiu Changtai replied. Zhu Yingyan. It's you? She asked in disbelief. It's me. Qiu Changtai replied. Didn't I admit it at the beginning? The demon bone on the opposite side still doesn't believe it. But why didn't you tell me? Zhu Yingyan was a little angry. If I told you at the beginning, would you still put pressure on the demon sect master on the opposite side to figure this out? Qiu Changtai said calmly, Junior sister, you see, everyone is confused now and can't figure out who the chosen one among us is. Even the master Miaodan from Shushan, who claimed that the chosen one was on Kunlun's side, actually suspected in his heart that the two demon sect masters were lying. Because in their eyes, a phoenix fairy with a proud personality like you would not bother to lie. In comparison, the possibility of demon sect monks lying is obviously higher. Zhu Yingyan was silent for a long time, and suddenly said with a smile, So senior brother used my personality traits to plot against them, right? This is not a plot, it can only be said to be taking advantage of the situation. I didn't lie to you. Qiu Changtai noticed that the junior sister was in a bad mood, and quickly explained, After all, junior sister, you didn't ask me at the beginning, right? I didn't ask you, so you couldn't tell me and let me deceive them. Zhu Yingyan said coldly, in the final analysis, you just think I'm not good at acting, so you deliberately concealed it and used this to let me play myself, right? Qiu Changtai was sweating coldly on his back and was speechless. He quickly shouted in his heart, A Jin, teacher Jin, help me. Kneel down. Kunlun Jing said calmly. Recommend a new book by an old author. Rebirth against the current for 10 years, 2 female protagonists, starting with selling goods on Taobao, accumulating funds through mobile games, investing in Miao, and gradually rising in 12 years. Urban commercial literature. Chapter 683 Breaking Your Unbeaten Legend. After Qiu Changtai's various clever persuasions, Zhu Yingyan finally calmed down. The little emotions that were originally caused by her husband's teasing also slowly subsided. To be honest, if she still couldn't let it go after so many years, she would have been invaded by the inner demon and gone astray. Since the chosen one on her side is her senior brother, she just needs to make sure that he is not discovered by the other side, and then find a way to figure out the identity of the chosen one on the other side. She checked the magic again and confirmed that her firebird ears and eyes were still in the palace on the opposite side. Since she was not discovered by the other side, for the sake of safety, she naturally had to keep exploring throughout the process and not miss any possibility. The worst case scenario is that the other party used voice transmission throughout the process and never leaked any clues. In that case, she can only rely on pure speculation, but Zhu Yingyan, relying on her 7 orifice exquisite heart, believes that with the pride and arrogance shown by the demon bone master, it seems unlikely that he would let others get the identity of the chosen one. If she really had to guess, Zhu Yingyan would directly choose this person. However, since senior brother Gao was so powerful, let senior brother Gao solve it. I won't give him any advice this time. She focused on manipulating the magic and observing the specific situation on the opposite side. The 2 Shushan sword immortals were still blocked in the backyard, guarded by the 3 subordinates of Demon Bone Master. There is only one aisle to leave the backyard. As long as the aisle is blocked unreasonably, the other party will basically have no way to leave the backyard unless they use force directly. Really, why would they be so stupid as to fall into such an obvious trap? You think you know some swordsmanship, so you rush in regardless of anything, right? Zhu Yingyan despised these Shushan sword immortals very much. Not only did he make stupid mistakes, but now he has to cause trouble for us Kunlun monks. It's really funny. A night passed like this. The next morning, Zhu Yingyan finally saw Demon Bone Master went to the backyard in person and negotiated with the 2 Shushan masters using the method of transmitting sound into secret. Although he couldn't use magic to find out what the other party was communicating, the fact that Demon Bone Master took one of the Shushan masters directly to find Jiao Master was self-evident. Zhu Yingyan was very excited, so he ran to Qiu Changtai and said proudly, Brother, if you want to know who the chosen one is, you still have a chance if you ask me. Qiu Changtai, Junior sister, have you found out the information? He asked with a smile. Hurry up and tell me junior sister is still powerful. Zhu Yingyan said impatiently, Hurry up, I'll tell you if you tell me. You didn't see Demon Bone taking a Shushan monk to find Jiao Master? Qiu Changtai asked to confirm. Zhu Yingyan's smile froze for a moment, and she asked seriously, So what? Perhaps she felt that her tone was a bit harsh, so she tried to ease her expression and asked seriously, "How did you know, brother?" "I guessed it," Qiu Changtai replied, "but this does not mean that the chosen ones have moved to the demon bone. Maybe they just released it deliberately to confuse you. If it is false, it is real, and if it is real, it is false." Zhu Yingyan retorted unhappily, "In this case, no matter what I saw, it may be true, or it may be deliberately performed for me. In this case, isn't there anything worth believing?" Before Qiu Changtai could say anything, she said frustratedly, "Forget it, let's leave it to brother to judge." "Brother Gao, what you say is really annoying. Obviously I am also trying to help him, alas." Zhu Yingyan was slightly depressed for a moment, but she was not the kind of person who liked to complain about herself, and soon continued to use magic to investigate the situation on the opposite side. Luo Bai's principle was to stay in the main hall, pretending to test and actually confusing the judgment of Miaodan Xinren and the two demon lords Xinren. It was not until noon that true Lord Lindu came leisurely accompanied by his maid and said with a smile, "Do you have an answer? If you have an answer, you can tell me in any way." So everyone looked at each other for a moment, and then they all spoke to true Lord Lindu and told him their answers. "Very good." True Lord Lindu stood up and said, "I will go to True Lord Jiao to check, everyone please wait for a moment." True Lord Lindu hurriedly left, and only heard True Lord Maldan said, "The answer has been submitted, can you tell it now? Who is the chosen one among us?" Everyone looked at each other, and no one answered. "At this point, you are still hiding it, right?" True Lord Maldan sneered and left with a displeased face. Obviously, she was not sure that she could guess the chosen one on the other side, and she just guessed an answer, so she was very unhappy. Not long after True Lord Maldan left, True Lord Mogia came in again with 3 men, swaggering in. "How is it?" He sat down on the table without any grace, and said to Qiu Changtai provocatively, "Did the famous Changzhen Master finally guess it? It can't be that you wrote my name." Demon Bone Master looked around defiantly, and his 3 subordinates laughed in unison. "Looking at your expression, it seems that you have already determined your victory?" Qiu Changtai asked in surprise. "Didn't I say it a long time ago?" Demon Bone Master narrowed his eyes and smiled, "From the beginning, I had a perfect plan to break the situation." He stretched out a finger and pointed at Qiu Changtai's nose. "It's a pity that although it is an unprecedented first-grade golden elixir, it can't be my opponent when it comes to temple calculations. Do you think that I didn't notice the peeping tricks performed by your junior sister Ning?" Zhu Yingyan was secretly shocked. Senior brother really guessed it. Good luck, if that's the case, senior brother should not have filled in his name, right? I'll tell you. Demon Bone Master proudly picked up the fruit plate on the table and stuck the fruit into his mouth roughly. "The chosen one is not me, and you will never know who it is. As long as we use secret voice transmission to communicate throughout the process, you will not be able to get any clues. This is an obvious fact, right? Unfortunately, the premise is that everyone reaches a consensus on confidentiality, but you don't seem to be united." He looked at the 2 demon masters on Qiu Changtai's side and sneered. "Through them, I have obtained a lot of clues. The chosen one is you, Master Changzheng." This time, both Zhu Yingyan and Luo Baiyuan's faces changed drastically. "So?" Qiu Changtai suddenly said, "How did you convince the 2 Shushan monks?" Zhu Yingyan had suddenly realized at this time. Demon Bone Master took the Shushan monk to find Jiao Master because he knew that he was spying with magic and deliberately acted for him. In addition, what he just said, the premise is that everyone reaches a consensus on confidentiality, which means that the 2 Shushan monks have colluded with Demon Bone, so they cooperated with him in acting. But why? It's very simple. Truman Mogi patted the fruit peel residue in his hand. "I told the 2 Shushan monks to let them choose 2 of the 6 of you to guess. As for the remaining 4, they will be matched one by the 4 monks of Ayangido. In this way, one person will definitely guess your chosen one, and the probability is 1 in 6, fair, right?" So the 2 of them agreed. After all, they were allowed to choose first. "So what?" Zhu Yingyan suppressed his anger and asked in a cold voice, "You in the Yangido only have a 2/3 chance of guessing correctly. If you guess wrong, what will you do?" "Nothing." Truman Mogi laughed, "Because from the beginning, I didn't intend to take the position of the Lord of the Golden Palace. As long as your chosen one is guessed, Truman Changzhen will not be able to win this duel. This is my goal. My real goal is to break your myth of undefeatedness, Changzhen." If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Mundo Fanfic Novelers, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelers. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 684. I'm not targeting you. To be honest, I used to admire you very much. Almost 100 years ago, I heard that there was a man named Kyo Chain Tyan Cunning, known as the public-spirited and righteous. Kyo the great chief demon bone master grinned. I told my father at the time, if there is anyone in Kunlun who will destroy our Jirija lineage, it must be this man majestic Cunning. How famous is it? But it is a pity that it is bound by the corrupt traditions of the Chanjiao, so that it is unable to move forward. It has the power of countless outer disciples, but is unable to utilize it at all. Kunlun opens its mountain gates to recruit disciples every 30 years, and there are already countless chief disciples, but you are the only one who recognizes the power of these outer disciples, aren't you? He showed an expression of I have completely seen through you and sneered. You deliberately won them over and built up their popularity, and in the end your reputation was even known to the whole sect. These outer disciples united under your command and eventually pushed you to the position of the great chief of the Foundation establishment realm. When I heard the news, I knew that you would either become my confidant or my nemesis. Because we are both on the same path. People like us are born to lead more people and declare war on this corrupt and rotten world. Demon Bone Master opened his arms and said proudly. His subordinates looked up at him in admiration, while the others looked at him as if he were a freak. Only Kyo Chain Tyan's face could no longer be tensed. I'm not. I didn't. Don't talk nonsense. I just want to brush up some synchronization points. Seeing his face suddenly change, Demon Bone Master also showed an expression of regret for not being able to make up for his shortcomings, and said angrily, however, why did you stop on this road after you formed the elixir? Of course, it was because the reputation had spread thoroughly, and there was no need to brush up outer disciples. Kyo Chain Tyan complained in his heart, but his face showed a confused expression of what are you talking about? Are you kidding me? Ha, stop pretending. Seeing that he was still playing dumb, Demon Bone Master waved his hand in a disinterested manner. After all, you have just been corrupted and assimilated by the quagmire of Kunlun. If I'm guessing correctly, it was the Kunlun Master who intervened, right? Under the coercion and inducement of the Master, you finally wavered and no longer firmly believed in your original belief. No, really not. Kyo Chain Tyan was speechless. Demon Bone Immortal was not willing to believe it and just said coldly and mercilessly, from then on, I swear to defeat you. What rising star of righteousness? A clear mind of Tao? You are nothing but a coward who was forced to compromise and betray his original intention. I will completely tear your undefeated golden body into pieces, throw it under my feet and trample it hard, so that the Kunlun Tai King sect, which adheres to the theory of talent and bloodline, will be completely discredited from now on. Wait a minute. Zhu Yingyan finally couldn't help it. After all, it turns out that you don't even know my senior brother. It's just that you are Egon who loves dragons. What Egon loves dragons? Demon Bone Immortal said viciously. I said, I just can't stand his hypocritical face. Demon Bone, you don't know the illusion of Egon loves dragons, right? Luo Baiyuan said suddenly, it's really terrible to be uneducated. The scene was silent for a while, and only Kyo Chain Tyan coughed and explained. The illusion of Egon loves dragons is about a man named Egon. Shut up. Demon Bone Master became angry and yelled, just wait for you to admit defeat. My men will spread this matter to the whole world. The name of Changzhen Master will soon become worthless. What a child. Zhu Yingyan sighed. Senior Sister Han Yuan, has this guy always been like this? Yes, Luo Baiyuan said helplessly, precisely because of this, no matter how he contradicts his senior masters, old Demon Bai will not punish him, mainly because everyone thinks he is just a child who has not grown up. Stop pretending. Demon Bone Master laughed in anger, as long as the victory is in my hands in the end, no matter how much you slander me, it's nothing but nonsense. As soon as the voice fell, Liandu Master and another strange Taoist turned out from the back hall and said with a smile, sorry to have kept you waiting, Jiu, but I won this time. You have nothing to say, right? Alas, I admit defeat. The strange Taoist kept shaking his head and sighing. Liandu, you were just lucky. Stop talking nonsense, I won. Liandu's Hinjun turned to Kyo Chain Tyan and said with a smile, this Changzhen's Hinjun guessed Jiro's Hinjun's chosen person this time, and no one guessed my chosen person. So according to the rules, the qualification of the Lord of the Golden Palace in my hand belongs to Changzhen's Hinjun. Thank you, Xinjun. Qiu Changtian clasped his fists and saluted, and just said thank you. The demon bone Xinren next to him seemed to wake up from a dream, his eyes widened in disbelief, and he shouted in disbelief. Wait a minute. Jia was Xinjun, this, he wanted to say this is impossible, but soon realized the surrounding gazes, so he barely calmed down and just asked coldly. Let me confirm again. My guess of the identity of the chosen person is wrong. But his guess is correct. Yes. That's right. Ling Du's Xinjun and Jiao's Xinjun gave answers at the same time. So Demon Bones Xinren fell silent strangely. After a few breaths, he suddenly laughed again, gritting his teeth and said, well done, Qiu Changtian. You really played a trick on me this time. Qiu Changtian. You have too much self-consciousness, I didn't target you at all, okay? Hilly. Demon Bone Master laughed a few times at last, turned around and left without any nostalgia, leaving behind a vicious word. Wait. Qiu Changtian, and that pretentious Wei Dongliu, sooner or later, I will defeat all of you. Huh. Qiu Changtian was slightly stunned when he heard it. Wei Dongliu, how did I, Wei Dongliu, provoke you? Forget it, don't care about the thoughts of such people, otherwise he will only pull your IQ to the same level. Qiu Changtian just came back to his senses, and saw Sisters Yu approaching from the side, and asked in a low voice with joy and curiosity. Brother, how did you do it? Well, it's just a trick. In the eyes of all, Qiu Changtian remained calm and answered calmly. Just when everyone in the main hall wanted to hear how Changzhen won, Ling Du's Xinjun followed Jiao's Xinjun back to the back hall. In the side hall of the back hall, a pretty and lovely girl stood and said to Ling Du's Xinjun, well, since my identity has not been guessed, then teach me the Taoism. So who is this person? Jiao's Xinjun asked in surprise. It is the Maldan Xinren of Shu Mountain. Ling Du's Xinjun said proudly. Before the game started, this person used magic to pretend to be Maldan Xinren of Shu Mountain and joined this gambling game. Pretending to be Maldan Xinren. Jiao's Xinjun said in surprise, doesn't that mean? That's right. Ling Du's Xinjun said meaningfully, according to my rules, the real identity of the selected person must be pointed out to me. That is to say. Jiao's Xinjun couldn't help laughing, unless someone can see through that she is not Maldan Xinren, otherwise there is no chance of winning from the beginning. Chapter 685 successfully advanced. There is no immediate benefit in getting the Master of the Golden Palace. Qiu Changtian estimated that this was probably just some kind of identity certification. In short, the actual benefits of winning this bet must be obtained through other means. Back? He suddenly asked in his sea of consciousness. Yes. Kunlun Mirror replied. What Taoist method did you take? Qiu Changtian asked. Take a look for yourself. Kunlun Mirror passed the content of the Taoist method to him. Qiu Changtian looked carefully and found that it was a reconnaissance-type Yamu secret technique called Pyroma Kindling technique, which could release seeds floating in the wind like dandelions from the air. Each seed could extend the range of his spiritual consciousness scanning for him, like a repeater. He was subconsciously very satisfied, because Qiu Changtian's character setting had no shortage of offensive means. There were 5 Thunders Orthodox method, Tian Yuan Yeki sword, and also defensive means, Tai King Yuan Qian Lan, Chu Xiao Hingbo flute. The only thing he lacked was reconnaissance-type spells, such as the hidden firebird that Zhu Yingyan had previously cast a spell to summon, which could be of great use at a critical moment. However, Qiu Changtian thought about it carefully and felt that something was wrong. Wait, I didn't have any reconnaissance spells in the past, but I never encountered similar troubles, because can't our Jin scan for me? The range is large and wide, the accuracy is 100% and there is no omission, and it doesn't need to consume my true energy. You broken mirror, why did you choose such a Taoist method to come back? Qiu Changtian said unhappily, what use do I have for this reconnaissance method? How can it be useless? Kunlun asked inexplicably, aren't you in need of reconnaissance methods now? Qiu Changtian was stunned for a moment. Don't I have you? Kunlun was stunned when he heard this, and subconsciously felt inexplicably moved and relieved, but soon reacted and said with a smile. Then you can't always rely on me. What if one day, I'm gone, what will you do? What if you are gone? Qiu Changtian was speechless. Right. Kunlun said gently, reconnaissance is also a method that cultivators must master. You should learn it well. I know. Qiu Changtian sighed and said, I'll go and learn it. He suddenly remembered a movie he had watched before crossing over. It was about a little boy who met a ghost in an accident. From then on, the ghost accompanied him as a golden finger and guided him to the peak of his career. However, it was at this peak moment that the ghost suddenly disappeared, so that he had a psychological breakdown and was unable to recover for a long time. Thinking of this, Kyo Chang-han was also a little sad. He thought that he now had a deep bond with K. Jing. If K. Jing wanted to leave him one day, he would probably feel very uncomfortable. Let's not think about these. Anyway, the sky repair has not been completed, and A. Jing will never abandon him. The test at Liando's Kinjin has ended, but those failed cultivators were not eliminated by the secret realm. After all, people had said before that there are a total of 12 Kinjin in the secret realm, and each of them can be awarded a position as the Lord of the Golden Palace. Therefore, the monks dispersed and went to look for other true lords in this secret realm. However, Zhu Yingyuan had an extra thought. She guessed that since the number of true lords corresponded to the number of Golden Palace lords, then if no one passed the test of true Lord Jiu, it did not necessarily mean that the qualification in his hand would be wasted. So she took Luo Baiyuan to ask, and as expected, she got a straightforward reply from true Lord Jiu. 7 Orifice exquisite mind, it is indeed very smart. Yes, I just thought of the content of the next test. Since you came to ask in advance, I will give this test to you too. In this competition, there is a true lord who is more eccentric, pretending to be one of you. Find her, expose her, and you can get the qualification of the Golden Palace Lord in my hand. Of course, there is only one qualification. Zhu Yingyuan immediately cheered up and was about to take Luo Baiyuan to find this true lord. Kyo Chang-han wanted to follow them, but was stopped by Liandu's Kinjin. Where are you going? Chang Zhengxinren, you are the first to get the position of the Master of the Golden Palace, please follow me. Kyo Chang-han had to let them go first, and he followed Liandu's Kinjin. Chang Zhengxinren, which sect have you learned from? Liandu's Kinjin asked casually on the way. I learned from Kunlun Tai King sect. Kyo Chang-han replied. Kunlun Tai King sect. Master Liandu muttered the name and smiled. It seems like a long time ago. In our time, there was only the Great Light Religion of the clan in the Kunlun Mountains. The Great Light Religion? Kyo Chang-han asked curiously, are you talking about Zhuang's Palace of Light? No. Master Liandu was a little surprised, as if he didn't expect that he knew the relationship between Zhuang and Palace of Light. The Great Light Religion is the product of the decline of the Palace of Light 7,000 years ago. It is composed of the remaining clan, human clan and monster clan. It is a cross-regional, loose organization of cultivation. Of course, it's much better than Zhuang's ancient times. The era you're talking about was an era when the strength of the strong was so strong that it was suffocating. Bloodline rank was everything, and the inheritance of skills and the legacy of Taoism were completely ignored, because no matter how hard you practiced, your endpoint could not catch up with others' starting point. In that case, Kyo Chang-han asked tentatively, why would that era also end? Is there anything in the world that will not come to an end? Liandu's Kinjin laughed, but did not answer the question directly. The two of them walked through many corridors and finally arrived at the highest attic in the Golden Palace secret realm. Wait here for a while. Liandu's Kinjin instructed him, when the 12 Golden Palace Masters gather, the ceremony will begin. What is the meaning of the ceremony? Kyo Chang-han continued to ask. The existence of the Golden Palace secret realm naturally has its reason for existence. Liandu's Kinjin said calmly. Okay, riddle man. Kyo Chang-han knew that he could not ask more, so he could only wait patiently here, thinking that without his guidance and reminder, he didn't know whether junior sisters Yu could successfully get the position of the Golden Palace. I don't know how long it took, and someone was led here by another Kinjin. I think she also passed the Kinjin test and got the position. It turned out to be senior sister Anne. Humph, it must be that the future me, as junior brother Lin, gave the opportunity to senior sister. There is no way, the unyielding character is like this. If there are difficulties, you have to overcome them, and if there are no difficulties, you have to take the initiative to create difficulties. Master Jing Xiao. Kyo Chang-han bowed and said. Master Chang Zheng. Zisu bowed briefly and turned to the master who brought her here and said, can I not stay inside? A man and a woman alone in the same room, I'm afraid others might misunderstand us. Chapter 686 I know the first 3 men and women should not touch each other, which is not just a restriction of traditional ethics. After all, women's defense ability is lower than men's. It is also for women's personal safety that they cannot be alone in a room. But, Zisu doesn't want to stay in the same room with Qiu Chang Tian, just out of disgust, right? Such a reason was certainly not recognized by Zhenjin. The other party did not even respond, but just smiled meaningfully and left. So the two stayed in the room together. Zisu's face was full of frost. Qiu Chang Tian was calm, and he was quickly recalling how he had offended her. Oh, I remember. At first, it was because of his great fame that Zisu subconsciously disliked him. This was inevitable. After all, Zisu always felt that Ling Yunpo's strength was not weaker than Qiu Chang Tian, but he did not have such a transcendent status and reputation in Shushan. Although it was intuition, in a sense, it was also telling the truth. Then came the Baiyuzheng competition. He defeated Zisu with clever tricks, but the other party found that he could not understand it at all. This kind of bad feeling was greatly aggravated. Perhaps in the eyes of senior sister Anne, her junior brother Ling was indeed not as good as this cunning Qiu Chang Tian. This was almost the most intolerable thing. Anyway, the attribute of protecting one's shortcomings, when it reaches the extreme, is equivalent to being unreasonable. Ling Yunpo himself has long experienced it. After a while, Qiu Chang Tian suddenly said, "Why don't you seeking Feng Xinren?" Perhaps because of the mention of Ling Yunpo, Zisu reluctantly responded and said, "He gave me the opportunity to advance." Qiu Chang Tian immediately understood and smiled faintly. "I see. The elders are friends and the younger ones are respectful, supporting each other. The atmosphere of the King Luo Peak lineage in Shushan is really enviable." This remark just hit the spot that Zisu was thinking about. What does she care about most? Ling Yunpo, Su Jian, King Luo Peak, nothing else. So senior sister Anne laughed without any ulterior motives and said proudly, "Of course, our King Luo Peak lineage is like this. We pay the most attention to the harmony of the relationship within the sect. Things like other factions that compete and hate each other for power and profit will never happen here." Hearing her boasting like this, Qiu Chang Tian unconsciously thought of his second senior brother Song He, who had once assassinated him in the foundation-building realm. It can only be said that where there are people, there are rivers and lakes, and where there are many people, there are big rivers and lakes. This is ultimately unavoidable. I heard that the 7 Killings true man Su Jian was also an expert in swordsmanship in Shushan in the past. Qiu Chang Tian said casually, "Have you heard of the name of Master?" Zisu's eyes lit up. "I have seen the sword tablet of Qisha's Hinran in the Patriarch Hall of the Golden Summit of Imade Mountain." Qiu Chang Tian replied, "The various merits recorded on it are really impressive." "Yeah, but what is recorded on it is only 1/10 or 1/12 of my master's glorious deeds." Zisu said with a smile, "My master once challenged various demon masters." She told Qiu Chang Tian again what she had boasted to Ling Yunpo repeatedly. The latter showed expressions of surprise, admiration, and respect at the right time, which made Zisu more and more benefited, and her favorability increased greatly. "By the way, I haven't told you about junior brother Lin yet." Perhaps her vigilance was almost eliminated, so Zisu took the initiative to start the topic. "Junior brother Lin?" Qiu Chang Tian pretended to be stunned, and then he reacted, "I remember, it's Master King Fen, right?" "Yes." Speaking of Ling Yunpo, Zisu couldn't stop at all, and began to introduce Ling Yunpo to Qiu Chang Tian. "My junior brother was born with sword bones. Chang Zhen knows this talent?" "I've heard of it." Qiu Chang Tian smiled faintly. "The bones of his whole body are like sword edges, strong and hard to break. It is a talent that is 1 in a million among sword immortals." "That's right." Zisu laughed. "My junior brother's talent in sword cultivation, in the field of sword cultivation, is almost as rare as the heart of Taoism. So that's it." Qiu Chang Tian thought that it was still a little inferior, but he said, "No wonder he was able to in the top 12 of Baiyuzheng in the past. This time, the test of the golden secret realm should be a piece of cake." "That's natural." Zisu said confidently, "Chang Zhen, just wait and see, the next one to come in must be my junior brother." Before he finished speaking, another master led people in. Qiu Chang Tian looked carefully and found that it was Xie Luli. He stopped talking immediately, knowing that his wife was smart, good at calculations, and had sharp intuition. He was afraid that if he said too much, she would see something. When Zisu saw that it was Xie Luli from Penglai, and that what he said before was slapped in the face, he lost interest in continuing the conversation for a while, and just crossed his arms and said nothing. Xie Luli entered the attic and quickly glanced at the two of them. Qiu Chang Tian, Chang Zheng's Hinran, had dealt with each other last time at the ruins of Donghua sect, and their relationship was relatively good. Zesu, Jing Xiao's Hinran. The last time they met was during the Baiyuzheng competition, and her first impression of him seemed to be not good, so he needed to make up for it carefully. Thinking of this, Shili smiled and greeted Qiu Changtian. Master Dongyu. Qiu Changtian nodded in response. Congratulations on winning the position of the Lord of the Golden Palace. It was just luck. Shili said modestly, and turned to Nzisu and said, Master Jing Xiao, long time no see. Yeah. Nzisu's response was extremely cold. So Qiu Changtian was even more certain that this senior sister must have social aversion and her attitude towards strangers was simply terrible. Shili naturally didn't care, or maybe her current scheming skills could be completely inconsistent, and even Qiu Changtian, who was experienced, couldn't tell her true emotions at all. However, perhaps this was also the reason why Nzisu was quite repulsive to her. This senior sister was born with a sword heart, and in some aspects, she also had an almost intuitive acumen. After several attempts to find a topic, all of which were met with extremely reluctant perfunctory responses, Shili finally stopped trying to curry favor with Qiu Changtian, and instead started chatting with Qiu Changtian about other topics. Now that the demon cult is so powerful, they even dare to get involved in the Golden Palace secret realm. It is really hard to imagine what they can do in the future. This statement is actually unreasonable if you look into it carefully. Who stipulates that the Golden Palace secret realm must belong to the three pure ones of the Orthodox religion? Qiu Changtian nodded in agreement and said seriously, I think that the leader of the Orthodox religion, Wei, is very ambitious. If his momentum becomes stronger in the future, it will not be a blessing for the Orthodox religion. That's right. Shili seemed to be thinking about something. In fact, she personally felt that Wei Donliu's reform was quite bold. After all, with the original muddy form of the Orthodox religion, it would definitely not work without a fierce fire and heavy medicine. It was just that the head of the Ziwi sect had just made a sharp comment on the reform of the Orthodox religion not long ago, and it was naturally impossible for the true man Chan Zheng to sing a different tune from his master, so she really didn't care much. Zesu, on the other hand, was left aside by the two of them, and as junior brotherling had not arrived yet, she became more and more anxious. Chapter 687. The first round ended successfully. Qiu Changtian, Zesu, Shili. The three of them stayed in the attic of the Golden Palace, and gradually they had nothing to say, and the atmosphere became awkward. Qiu Changtian was a little restless, thinking that this is my wife on the left and on the right, but she doesn't recognize me at all. I can't recognize her face to face. This is the pain of being a multifaceted spy. Who can know my pain? He gradually put on a mask of pain on his face. Shili and Nzisu saw that he looked sad, thinking that he was probably worried about whether his Taoist partners Yu Ying could pass the test, and thinking that his wife, Ling Yunpo, also loved him so deeply, they couldn't help but feel warm in their hearts, and their impression of Qiu Changtian became better and better. Not long after, another person was led into the attic by the true lord, but it was the demon lord Wei Donliu with red hair and double pupils. This person was full of evil spirits, and the devil flame soared to the sky. After entering, he sat in a corner, closed his eyes, and didn't say a word. Zisu subconsciously raised her eyebrows, and her evil spirit was stimulated by the demonic energy of the other party, as if she was about to raise her sword in the next second. Fortunately, she didn't draw her sword in the end, otherwise Qiu Changtian didn't know how to separate the two. Can senior sister and beat my great demon lord Wei? Not long after, more and more people came. Zhu Yinlian, Luo Yan, Ling Yunpo, Luo Baiyuan, Jin Wuxinren from Shushan, and the other three people from the demon sect, Hun Wenyang. This guy formed a pill at the speed of light, right? Oh, by the way, it has indeed been a long time since Wei Donliu transferred to Qiu Changtian's line. It is not surprising that Wen Yang was able to be trained by the White Bone Venerable during this period. If I can have an immortal master, I can form a Yuning in a minute, okay? Qiu Changtian looked carefully and saw that there were 8 people from the Orthodox sect and 4 people from the Demon sect who got the position of the Golden Palace this time. Overall, the Orthodox sect still had the upper hand. Although it failed to monopolize the secret realm, it was not to the point of being at a disadvantage. However, if you think about it carefully, I have 3 clones and 3 wives in the Orthodox religion, and I only have 1 clone in the demon religion. If you subtract the factors related to me, it means that only 2 people entered the Orthodox religion, while the demon religion has 3 people on its own. In terms of actual combat power, the demon religion may be more powerful. Looking at the Orthodox religion, there are 3 people from Cunning, 3 people from Shushan, and 2 people from Penglai. It is not surprising that Jin Lansenran was not selected. Most of the monks in Penglai have a scholarly aura and are not good at conspiracy and calculation. But Shushan sent out 6 people, but only 3 people entered, which is just the same as cunning, which is really speechless. After all 12 people arrived, they only heard the sound of bells in the secret realm, and there was also the wonderful singing of immortals, which was endless. Clouds passed over the North Sea, and rain feet penetrated the South Sea. Black evil is the central ban, and Tianping descended to the imperial camp. Lincoln holds the jade seal, Chu holds the golden flag. After the chanting ended, everyone was quickly sent out of the secret realm and returned to the top of Shiwa Mountain. Around the altar on the top of the mountain, the righteous and the evil were still fighting. Every time a person was teleported out, they were retrieved by the powerful people in their respective camps. As soon as Qiu Chang's Time appeared, he was put into the sleeve of the Qisun Immortal and thrown into the Kumling camp. You did a good job this time. Seeing that Qiu Chang Tian, Zhu Yinlian, and Luo Baiyuan had successfully passed the test, the head of Ziwei was obviously very proud and praised them. Looking at Shushan, 6 people were dispatched, but only 3 people entered. The head of Ziwei was even more pleased. On the other hand, the head of Yuzheng in Shushan had a gloomy face, with no sadness or joy. On the contrary, the 3 Shushan real people who entered the secret realm but failed the test had very dark faces, as if they had suffered a great humiliation and wanted to find an opportunity to avenge themselves immediately. In the distance, the demonic power of the White Bone Venerable was overwhelming, and he once again sent endless grey fog towards this side. Wherever he passed, 6 or 7 mountains, and all the flowers, plants and trees rotted and withered, and the poison in them was extremely fierce. Qiu Chang's Time was horrified, thinking that this immortal fighting, the residual wave of the magic was 100 miles in radius, which was too exaggerated. If this move hit him, I guess there was no way to deal with it unless I let Jin teleport and run away. Looking at the immortal Qisun, he saw that he calmly moved his sleeves, and it was like a long dragon sucking water, and directly rolled up the grey fog that spread over several mountain tops into his sleeves, turning it into invisible. Han Yuan was also saved. Ziwei's sect leader reminded. Then let's go. Qisun Immortal laughed. So Kumlan began to evacuate the battlefield. The Blood Sea Patriarch wanted to keep someone, and controlled the Blood Sea Shanjian to kill him, but Qisun Immortal threw a Jade Ruya to resist it, so that Ziwei's sect leader could run away with the 3 real people. After withdrawing to Kunlin, Qisun Immortal called the 3 people and asked about the specific secret words heard in the Golden Palace secret realm. Clouds pass over the North Sea, rain falls on the South Sea. He pondered for a moment and said, maybe it's in the sea? Changzhen, what do you think? Qiu Chang's Time also pondered for a moment and said, maybe we can ask Master Dongyi to calculate it. Zhu Yinglian frowned slightly beside him. Although he didn't want to admit it, the other party's calculation ability was indeed powerful, and if the Kaibao Chuan Yuan secret realm was really in the sea, then unless it was in the South China Sea, it would not be able to bypass Penglai. Well. Immortal Qisun smiled slightly. No matter where it is, the next secret realm must be participated in by the nascent soul realm. It is still too early for you. There is no rush for this matter. If I remember correctly, Han Yuan is about to form a nascent soul. You can go to Fenbaoan to get a magic weapon to resist the heavenly tribulation. Changzhen, Qingying, you have just entered the Golden Core realm and the root-seeking stage. It is reasonable to settle down your cultivation and not continue to pursue bravery and diligence. This is the safest strategy. But now the situation in the world is becoming more and more complicated, and it may not be appropriate to seek stability blindly. You should go to Penglai and ask Immortal Wang Xiang for the secret medicine for the root-seeking stage, and tell him to repay the favor you owed Qisun last time. Yes. Qiu Chang's Han and Zhu Yinglian knew that this was the reward for the Golden Secret Realm, so they all agreed. After leaving Kumlan Tianmen Hall, Zhu Yinglian said casually, remember the last time I went to Penglai, Shili was jealous of my senior brother. Now she is completely different from before. It's amazing. Qiu Chang's Han heard the tentative meaning in her tone and explained quickly. Her calculation ability is really powerful. I recommended her to Qisun Immortal before, which was out of public interest and had no other intentions. I didn't say that my senior brother had other intentions. Zhu Yinglian denied it immediately. No other intentions. Junior sister, you have a strong personality. If you hear me praising other women, it would be strange if I didn't have other intentions. Qiu Chang's Han said in a roundabout way. Penglai is good at Kimanyosha, but in terms of deep cultivation, it is still not as good as our Kumlin. Humph. Zhu Yinglyan thought of the Golden Palace secret realm this time, and Shilili actually entered the attic before him, and suddenly he was unwilling. But after her senior brother persuaded her like this, she forced herself to suppress her resentment and decided to practice Taoism well and not be outdone by Shilili in other areas. Chapter 688. The method of transforming into a Peng. Arriving at Penglai Fairy Island again by flying sword, Qiu Changtai looked at the surrounding sea area, thinking that the aura of this sect protection formation was concealed so perfectly, and the formation technique was unique. He didn't know which knowledgeable and talented formation master had done it. The current Penglai King Temple seems to have recovered its vitality. Zhu Yinglyan also looked at the fairy island below and said casually, "There is no sign of being perceived by the devil. Isn't it?" Qiu Changtai thought to himself. Although the monks of Penglai are very weak in direct combat, their various techniques for building and constructing the sect's residence are second to none. Didn't you see that the most powerful formation master in the sect is in Penglai? It's a pity that Sister Zhu doesn't understand the formation and can't appreciate the exquisiteness of this sect protection formation. As soon as the two approached the sky above Penglai, a patrolling monk flew up on a sword and came over to confirm their identities. Qiu Changtai handed over the visiting card and was led to the reception hall to wait. Not long after, the Wangxiang Immortal came out quietly and said with a smile, "Did Kisan ask you to come and get the medicine?" Junior greets the Immortal. Qiu Changtai and Zhu Yinglyan hurriedly saluted. "What a coincidence." Wangxiang Immortal said leisurely, "The medicine has not been refined yet, but it is missing a primer, so it cannot be complete." Qiu Changtai and Zhu Yinglyan looked at each other for a moment, feeling helpless, and could only bow and say, "Please tell me, Immortal, what primer is missing?" "From here to the east, about 1,000 miles, there is a blood coral on the seabed." Wangxiang Immortal replied, "Take its keratin powder, 3 taels will be enough. Junior will go and get it now." Qiu Changtai responded respectfully. The two flew away from Penglai, and Zhu Yinglyan suddenly said, "What does Wangxiang Immortal mean? If it's just a lack of an induction, he only needs to move his mouth, and there will be countless Penglai disciples who will go through fire and water to get the medicine for him. Why send us Kunlun monks? Maybe he wants to test us." Qiu Changtai replied. Zhu Yinglyan did not respond, but from his expression, he seemed to agree with this possibility. The two turned around and flew eastward. In the reception hall, Wangxiang Immortal was pondering, and Shilili came out from behind and saluted, saying, "Immortal. Is that Qing Immortal really the solution to this flood?" Wangxiang Immortal asked in a deep voice. "According to the hexagram, yes." Shilili paused for a moment and asked curiously, "Can't the Immortal solve this matter? There are many things in the world that Immortals should not be involved in." Wangxiang Immortal sighed, "We can only put our hopes on her." However, Zhu Yinglyan flew east with Qiu Changtai. He was bored all the way, so he took the Yujie sword and shot it into the sea, stirring up all kinds of fish, shrimps and water monsters. "Junior sister." Qiu Changtai smiled, "I didn't expect you to have such a playful side. Don't say that to me." Zhu Yinglyan glared at him and said angrily, "Tsk tsk tsk." A voice suddenly sounded in the sea of consciousness, "Do you and your wife usually communicate like this?" "Senior Phoenix," Zhu Yinglyan said helplessly. "You don't have to call me senior, just call me Fenglan," Phoenix said. "The reason I spoke to him like that is because the stock senior brother is too annoying." Zhu Yinglyan told the Phoenix senior in the sea of consciousness all the things that his senior brothers had done to bully him in the past. Fenglan was dumbfounded. So his usual elegant, gentle and refined appearance is actually all an act. Yes. Zhu Yinglyan was indignant. The outside world praises him as a model of righteousness, but they don't know that he has so many bad tastes. Knowing that what I care about most is the gap in strength, he deliberately teases me in this regard and pretends to be unintentional. Yinglyan, don't get too excited. Fenglan thought for a moment, then asked Zhu Yinglyan, "What method is your husband best at?" Although she was living in Zhu Yinglyan's sea of consciousness, she spent most of her time cultivating her soul and didn't pay much attention to the outside world. "My senior brother is best at thunder magic," Zhu Yinglyan replied, "but his swordsmanship is also extremely profound. By the way, his greatest advantage is that he has abundant and powerful true energy. When coupled with the Tianyuan Yeki sword, which is known for its ferocity, he is almost invincible." "I see." Fenglan nodded and said, He is good at thunder magic and swordsmanship, and is used to crushing opponents head-on, right? That's right. That's easy to deal with. Fenlan smiled. My Phoenix clan also has a thunderbird, whose cry is like thunder, its wings can generate lightning, and its claws and beak are as sharp as steel swords. But when I fight her, I win 8 out of 10 times. Oh? Zhu Yingyan's eyes lit up, and he asked quickly, how did Senior Fenlan deal with it? Simple. Fenlan laughed. Although thunder magic is sharp, its habits are violent and difficult to control. You're only good at fire spells, and you are not good at dealing with thunder magic. If you can learn a water spell, or master water magic weapons and flying swords, it will be much easier. Let's not talk about how she instigated Zhu Yingyan for now. Qiu Chang's Hein led Sisters Yu forward and soon went deep into the uninhabited land. In this world, the extreme east, extreme west, extreme south, and extreme north are all places that few cultivators have set foot on. The extreme north is cold, the extreme south is hot, the extreme west is dry and barren, and the extreme east is full of waves. There is no place to stay, and there are tens of thousands of years and hundreds of thousands of years of aquatic monsters hidden in it. Therefore, even the cultivators of Penglai King Temple did not dare to go too deep. In the past, Luoyan and Shilili went to find that 5 Kikaoyuan cave in order to find the secret realm of Zaifu. It was the edge limit that the cultivators of Yu King Temple had set foot on. However, according to what the Wonxiang Immortal said this time, it seemed that they had to continue to go east. Just as Qiu Chang's Hein was thinking, he suddenly saw a huge shadow projected from the sea. The shadow was so long that it was impossible to see the end in the future. The width alone was as big as a mountain range. As its body emerged from the water, a tsunami hundreds of feet high was set off around it, shaking in all directions. This made Qiu Chang's Hein even have an illusion that this huge East China Sea was just a bathtub for this aquatic old monster. Then, the two suddenly saw clearly that it was a whale, or, as the ancient books said, kun. Human race. The kun made a sound from the air vent on its back, and the two suddenly felt as if a storm had suddenly risen, shaking the flying swords under their feet and unable to stabilize their bodies. Do you know how to transform into a rock? Transform into a rock? Qiu Chang's Hein and Zhu Yingyan looked at each other. The so-called Kunpun, according to the records in ancient books, is a magical demon race. When it was a kun, it was a scale race living in the water, and after it became a big rock, it became a feather race. But how kun transformed into a rock? Even if Qiu Chang's Hein had rich experience in the Eastern Empire realm, he knew nothing about it. This kind of secret involving the core of the race must have been strictly kept secret by the Kunpun clan. I know. Fenlan suddenly said in Zhu Yingyan's sea of consciousness, ask him what he is willing to give in exchange for the method of transforming into a rock. Chapter 689. This is a fool. The transformation from kun to pen is a very mysterious process. Because theoretically, the 5 major races of hairy, scaled, horned, and feathered kun should not be interoperable. Even if a card crosses the dragon gate and transforms into a dragon, it is an evolution within the scale clan, and it does not cross that boundary. However, Kunpun truly transformed from an aquatic giant fish into a golden wimpen, and the process in between is completely unknown. Therefore, the Kanglong clan expelled Kunpun from the Scale clan very early, believing that although Kun has no feathers, it is actually an aquatic feather clan. Anyway, the logic is far-fetched. It is unknown how long this giant Kun has lived, but his temper is quite gentle, or more accurately, he does not have much acquired vigilance. He only said that he has been alone since he was a child, and now he has perfected the secret method of bloodliner practice, but he has not found a way to transform into pen, so he is very distressed. Recently, it suddenly had an idea to try if it could adapt its body to the air environment by jumping out of the water repeatedly, so as to grow feathers like a rock. Just when it was about to jump out of the water like a whale, it happened to meet 2 people flying through the air, so it came over to ask. After hearing what it said, Qiu Chang's Hein roughly guessed why the Wonxiang Immortal sent them here. This kun is so huge that even if it floats to the surface normally, it will have to push away hundreds of feet of waves. Like what it said, jumping out of the water will definitely cause a tsunami that can stretch for thousands of miles. It would be strange if Penglai King Temple didn't have a headache. Benefits. The giant kun's tone was a little embarrassed, and he said slowly, I can't think of what I can give you. Zhu Yingyan also fell silent, thinking that she couldn't say what do you have, let us pick it, only to hear Senior Fenlan laughing in her mind. Great, this is a fool. Ask it for the hardest scale at the base of its dorsal fin. Zhu Yingyan hesitated slightly, because this made her feel immoral, but if she didn't mention it, she really couldn't think of anything else to exchange, so she could only bite the bullet and say, "That, the scale at the base of your dorsal fin, okay?" The giant coon said with surprise, "That scale has been half fallen off a long time ago, but it has not fallen off, and it is usually very itchy. If you can help me get it off, that would be great. The hardness of this scale is very strong and can almost withstand most attacks." Fen Lan also instructed her in the Sea of Consciousness. It will accompany Kun throughout his life, and will only fall off when he is about to turn into a rock, so it is extremely rare and extremely precious. In my time, every Kun's dorsal scales belonged to the Kunpun clan, and clan members were absolutely not allowed to give them away privately. You are so lucky to meet such a fool. This made Zhu Yingyan feel even more guilty, so she asked tactfully, "Besides the method of turning into a rock, do you need anything else? We can also consider it as an exchange for part of your dorsal scales, no more." The giant Kun said readily, "You helped me, do you want anything else in exchange besides this scale?" "I heard that there is a blood coral on the seabed nearby." Qiu Changtai had just said half a sentence when he was hit in the abdomen by an elbow from the apologetic Zhu Yinlian, and swallowed it back. "That little red tree, okay?" The giant Kun said gently, "Come with me." After speaking, it slowly sank into the water, and a huge whirlpool gradually emerged on the sea surface, and countless seawater began to fill the hole left after it sank. Qiu Changtai and Zhu Yinlian looked at each other for a moment, and then hurriedly followed with the sword and dived into the sea. There were no water monsters in the sea, and even the migratory fish were few and far between. Obviously, the huge body of the giant Kun was an extremely terrifying nightmare for any aquatic creature. The two followed the giant Kun all the way down and finally saw the hazy red light in front of them. The blood coral was almost hundreds of feet high, and it stretched out its huge canopy like a giant tree on the seabed. There were countless water snakes and monsters circling around it, and there were also many old pythons with the breath of the nascent soul, which made Qiu Changtai and Zhu Yinlian secretly frightened. The giant Kun didn't care at all, but just swam towards the blood coral on its own, and the water flow it brought seemed to bend the coral. Countless water snakes and monsters tried to block the giant Kun, but they couldn't even touch its body, and were knocked over by the huge water flow. Finally, a giant python with grey scales blocked the giant Kun's way forward, and tremblingly called out, "Ancestor! Why did you suddenly come to our clan?" "Ancestor?" Qiu Changtai was startled at first, and then he reacted. Old Ancestor is the name of the immortals in the demon clan, but it is also used by weak demon clans to refer to powerful demons, just like some salespeople in modern society like to call customers Mr. So-and-so. "I want that little red tree." The giant Kun did not have any doubts and just answered, "You want the sacred tree?" The white python was also shocked. Their clan certainly could not resist the old Kunpun, but the sacred tree in the clan was related to the evolution of the descendants of the future generations, and it was absolutely not allowed to be lost. As the news that this powerful intruder came to plot against the sacred tree spread, the entire water snake clan quickly became noisy and chaotic. Some water snakes planned to stop the giant Kun at all costs, but more of them were thinking about how to escape. If the sacred tree was gone, what was the point of staying in the clan? Zhu Yinlian watched from the side, and he sighed in his heart. The request of the two cultivators, the difference of the giant Kun's thought, could actually affect the life and death of the entire demon clan. The contrast between the strong and the weak can be seen from this. However, these demons lived far away from Shenzhou and would probably never have anything to do with humans in their lifetime, so Zhu Yinlian felt a little compassion, or maybe because of Senior Phoenix in her Sea of Consciousness, she didn't have any bad feelings towards the demons, and persuaded the giant Kun. "We don't want the whole blood coral, we just want to take some powder." The white python was as if he had been pardoned. "Take powder? That's much easier. In fact, as the sacred tree grows, some branches will also age. What many priests do every day is to peel off the aging hard shell from the sacred tree so that the branches inside can continue to grow." So he quickly responded, "We have powder. We have as much as you want." Seeing that the two human cultivators said so, the giant Kun calmly gave in and said in a muffled voice, "Then, bring the powder over, not too little, do you hear me?" Soon, the entire water snake clan became busy, and for a while, the blood coral was surrounded by all kinds of twisting and winding figures. About half an hour later, hundreds of barrels of freshly produced blood coral powder were delivered to the back of the giant Kun. A large amount of it was piled up like a small mountain, which made the two of them dumbfounded. "One Xiang Immortal, how much powder did you say you wanted before? How many taels?" What's the use of making so much of this stuff? Qiu Chang's pretended to be at a loss, reached out to take some powder, and quietly scanned and identified it. Although he learned the formation in Penglai, he also dabbled in alchemy knowledge. The vitality of this red powder is strong, which can be called a rare and wonderful thing in the world. It can be used to heal injuries and can also be used to refine pills to strengthen the body, such as accelerating the cultivation of the marrow-washing stage of the foundation-building realm and the root-seeking stage of the golden elixir realm. In other words, taking it back and presenting it to the sect will be another great achievement. Chapter 690. No reward, no punishment. Back to Penglai Fairy Island. Qiu Chang's took out a small bottle of blood coral powder and handed it to Wang Xiang Immortal. Is this the only bottle? Wang Xiang Immortal said with a smile. If you really sneaked into the vicinity of the blood coral, you should have taken more than just this small bottle of powder, right? To be honest with you, Immortal. Qiu Chang's said with a wry smile, I did take 3 bottles, and I plan to hand over the other 2 bottles to the sect. Hilly. Wang Xiang Immortal stroked his beard. How about this? I'll buy another bottle from here, so that I don't have to make another trip next time Kisun asks me to make pills. Of course, Qiu Chang's didn't dare to refuse, so he could only accept respectfully. He gave Wang Xiang Immortal a bottle of powder and took a storage bag from him. He scanned it with his spiritual sense and found that it was all the best pure spirit stones. Spirit stones are the currency of the cultivation world. So many pure spirit stones are a lot of money for cultivators. However, the overall economy of the cultivation world is very relaxed. Many cultivation resources are in short supply and so rare that you can't buy them at all. Therefore, Qiu Chang's didn't bother too much with the Wang Xiang Immortal, and regarded it as a good relationship. If we really want to make a good relationship, we have hundreds of barrels of blood coral powder, so it's no big deal to give this immortal a bottle. Zhu Yingyan watched the whole process and couldn't complain in her heart. But she was a cunning cultivator after all, and of course she couldn't speak out to protect the interests of Penglai, so she pretended not to see it. Probably because he got an extra bottle, the Wang Xiang Immortal also refined the pill smoothly this time, and soon came out to hand a pill to the 2. Qiu Chang's opened the bottle stopper to check the goods, and saw that the 2 pills were all scarlet and exuded a strange sweet fragrance. After taking this pill, sit cross-legged on the spot and refine it immediately. Wang Xiang Immortal warned, it is very beneficial to the growth of the pill root. Just be careful. During the period of refining the medicinal power, you should not easily fight with others and mobilize your true essence. It is probably because the pill root grows faster in the garden. If the true essence is mobilized too quickly, it will go against the root, which will cause extremely strong colic. Well, it's best to find a place to retreat and completely digest the medicinal power before coming out. Thank you for your teachings, Senior. The 2 of them hurriedly agreed. After returning to Kunlin, Qiu Chang's went to Ziwi's sect master to report. Since it is a task given to you by the Immortal, just complete it well. Ziwi's sect master didn't care, but you shouldn't charge for the bottle of blood coral powder. Disciple also thought so, but Senior took the initiative to give it to me, and I dare not refuse. Qiu Chang's showed a helpless look. Forget it. Ziwi's sect master thought that it was probably because the Wang Xiang Immortal didn't want to take the young man's things for free, so it didn't matter. Just take it. Anyway, for the Immortal, filial piety is completely unnecessary. What's more important is someone who is capable and can get things done for him. Master. Qiu Chang's continued, what should I do with the extra blood coral powder? You can keep it for yourself. Ziwi's sect master said with a wave of his sleeves. Too much, I don't need it, I want to give it to the sect. Qiu Chang's said with a wry smile. It's not that I don't need it, at least Luoyan has a way to get rid of it, but because the number is too large, it is easy for the Wang Xiang Immortal to know about it and trace it back to me, so I gave up. How much is it? Ziwi's sect master frowned and asked. A few 100 kilograms. Qiu Chang's replied. Ziwi's sect master. A few 100 taels or a few 100 kilograms? He asked again to confirm. Probably a few 100 kilograms, I haven't counted it. Qiu Chang's took out the storage bag and took it out to display it in the lecture room. As the blood coral powder piled higher and higher, Ziwi's sect master couldn't hold back any longer and shouted, Enough, enough. Master believes it. You collect these and send them to Fenbahu Rock, Master will ask the Immortal how to deal with them. Really, after accepting this disciple, all kinds of messy accidents are increasing. Ziwi's sect master hurriedly left the lecture room and walked quickly to the Tianmen Hall in the back mountain. His steps were as fast as flying. At first, he was still serious, but gradually, he couldn't help laughing. In the Tianmen Hall in the back mountain, Kisun Immortal was also surprised to hear that someone brought back hundreds of kilograms of coral powder. In the wild area east of the East China Sea, which is rarely visited by human monks, there are actually many good things. For example, the blood coral that has grown for more than 100,000 years is a rare treasure in the world. However, there is a giant kun living near the blood coral, and it is ferocious and aggressive by nature. Whenever it meets people, it asks, is there a way to turn into a rock? We are not kunpun, how can we know the method of turning into a rock? If we can't answer, the other party will pester us and spray us with water jets, and this giant kun has been practicing for who knows how many years, and his skills are amazing. Even immortals will frown when they meet him. There are a large number of demons living near the blood coral. If they rub it, the noise will be too loud and it will easily attract the troublesome giant kun. Therefore, immortals often hide their bodies and sneak in secretly. Every time they need to use it, they go to get a little bit. Although it is not difficult, it is very troublesome. This kid brought back hundreds of kilograms at a time, but where did he get it from? It can't be that he cut down other people's blood corals. Thinking of this, Immortal Kisun couldn't help but have a headache. Logically speaking, such a great contribution to the sect must be rewarded heavily. But the question is, does Qiu Chang's time need anything? Gongfa, whether it is the key refining technique or Taoism he practices, all the Kunlun's top-level Gongfa. Flying sword, Tianyuan Yeki sword perfectly meets the needs, and he can't fly the sword with both hands, so there is no need to get a second one. Magical weapon, whether it is Tai King Yuan Qian Lan or Chuishao Hing Padai, the former has strong defense, and the latter is both offensive and defensive, and there is no need for extra magic weapons to follow. To put it bluntly, even if Qiu Chang's time has this attitude, even if he does nothing, Kunlun will find reasons to keep giving him various gongfa, magic weapons, and flying swords, fearing that he will not be smooth on the road and fall halfway. Now that this child has finally grown up and is giving back to the sect, how should the sect reward him? Forget it, let Ziwi's sect master worry about this. Qiu Chang's time returned to the cave, took the elixir, and began to retreat and refine. During this period, Ziwi's sect master came again and asked him to go to Fenbahu Rock to get the treasure, which was regarded as a reward for this treasure offering to the sect. He was not in a hurry to get the treasure, but just concentrated on refining the medicinal power in his stomach and improving his cultivation quickly. The elixir produced by this immortal was really amazing. Its medicinal power was moderate and peaceful, and it was endless, like a big river. It really saved him countless years of hard work. Now the golden elixir in his stomach has become very small, and it is still continuing to transfer the extremely pure true essence to the elixir field, forming meridians on the outer wall of the elixir field like old roots. These meridians are called elixir roots. In the future, when you want to form a union, these elixir roots will be the placenta of the union, so you must practice carefully. After refining about 1/3 of the medicinal power, Qiu Chang's time confirmed the progress of Sisters Yu beside him, and then came out of retrieve to walk around Jinlan to relax, and then come back to continue practicing. As a result, as soon as he left the cave, he heard his 4th junior brother Yamzachui talking to his 3rd junior brother Guanzhen. Big brother chief, do you know that something happened in Shushan? What happened? Guanzhen was not interested in gossip, but when he heard that it happened in Shushan, he thought it would be better to find out more. The real person Jing Xiao, who came second in the last Baiyuzhen competition and later formed a 2nd-grade golden elixir, is said to have accidentally violated some sect rules recently and was locked up by Shushan. Yan Zichua said with a smile. Qiu Chang's Haiyan. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Mundo Fanfic Novelers, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelers. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 691. Returning to Shushan to persuade senior sister. Qiu Chang's time left Jinlan calmly, asked Kunlun Jin to use illusion to disguise himself as an ordinary disciple, and then went around to inquire about the news from Shushan. The reason why Ling Yunpa was not directly read was because Ling Yunpa's side was in the past tense, and now it was in the future tense. From the time she heard that Senior Sisterin was locked up, it had become a historical fact that Senior Sisterin was locked up by Shushan, and it could not be changed even if she went back to the past. However, it was necessary to find out what sect rules she had violated and why she was punished by Shushan. Qiu Chang's-Han inquired carefully for a while, and then he realized that the charge was suspected of killing a fellow disciple. This matter was too strange. From the perspective of her junior brother, Ling Yunpo could say that although senior sister was fierce, vicious, and merciless, she was not too harsh. In the past, so many Shushan swordsmen had fought with her, and the worst that happened was that she was crippled, but she never died, which proved that Anzisu was not a bloodthirsty person. Qiu Chang's-Han continued to inquire, and only knew that the victim seemed to be a real person, but he didn't know who it was. After all, it was too difficult for Kunlun disciples to remember the names of Shushan sword immortals, except for those who were particularly famous. This world has neither the internet nor mobile phones, and most of the news is passed on by word of mouth. Kunlun and Shushan are far apart, so it would be strange if they were not distorted. There was no other way, so he could only read the file to go to Ling Yunpo's side, and then act carefully. Jin, read it for me. Point 2. Shushan Shang King Sect, King Luo Peak. Character Identity. Ling Yunpo. Mirror Flower Water Moon template overwritten, in the process of time travel. After reading Ling Yunpo's side, he immediately confirmed the timeline. At this time, the Golden Palace secret realm has not yet been opened, and it is estimated that Shushan is still exploring clues. Not long after Yuanzhen assassinated his father, he was locked in Kuzu Peak for protection, waiting for Kunlun to come and take him away. In addition to drinking and fencing, Ling Yunpo and Anzisu go to guard the demon locking tower every day. They go to work and come home every day. They can be said to be very social animals. I think it is because life is too boring that the senior sister is in a bad mood and accidentally kills a few villains. Thinking of this, Ling Yunpo persuaded the senior sister in a roundabout way. Senior sister, are you unhappy about anything? If you're unhappy, just say it, don't hold it in your heart. Anzisu. She touched her face guiltily, thinking that it couldn't be that the things she had been worrying about recently were discovered by her junior brother. Until now, she is still distressed about being surpassed by her junior brother. Thinking back to the time when the junior brother just entered the door, he didn't know anything and had to teach himself. How cute was the junior brother at the time. But now he has ridden on her head and even has to give in to her in a sword fight. If the master knew about this, he would definitely complain about disorder between the elders and the young and no respect for elders. Thinking of this, Anzisu felt a severe headache. However, he couldn't blame his junior brother for this kind of thing. After all, what could be wrong with a sword immortal working hard to practice swordsmanship? If he wanted to blame someone, he should blame his senior sister for being too unpromising and too lazy, so that he was surpassed by his junior brother, which led to the current upside-down level of cultivation. Therefore, Anzisu has been staying up all night recently, and has been experiencing the sword meaning taught by the overseas master all night. Although she was born with a sword heart, it is still quite strenuous and difficult to learn swordsmanship that is far beyond her own realm. This caused Anzisu to fall into a kind of long-term depression and worry, but she couldn't reveal the truth to her junior brother, and there was no one to confide in, so the degree of depression doubled, and her mood was so bad. Of course, it was impossible to admit this to his junior brother. Otherwise, as long as Ling Yunpo said with a playful smile, "Senior sister, you look so weak and helpless now, but you have some feminine beauty," Anzisu would immediately have the urge to dig a hole and bury herself in it. "No, it's nothing," Anzisu said in a low voice, "it's just that every time a woman has a few days of discomfort, she will feel uncomfortable." "Junior brother, don't ask so many questions." Ling Yunpo. "Senior sister, you were a female cultivator who has already practiced fasting." Of course, he couldn't say this directly, otherwise he would be killed by the ashamed and angry senior sister. Therefore, he could only say indirectly, "Senior sister, if you meet fellow disciples outside, remember not to provoke hatred for our King Luo Peak." I know. Anzisu got angry. He actually started to lecture me. "Are you the senior sister, or am I the senior sister?" She was getting more and more upset, so unhappy that her face was directly hung. Ling Yunpo did not dare to continue probing, so he could only change the subject and said, "By the way, is there any news in our Shushan recently?" "No news, but there is an old news." Anzisu said in a muffled voice, "The Shushan competition is about to begin again." "What, another competition?" Ling Yunpo said in surprise. "It's not the Jindan realm competition, but the Foundation Establishment realm competition." Anzisu said faintly, "But Juanfenhai is planning to form a golden elixir recently, and Lin Yuanzhen is almost there, so there may be a big change in the immortal sword ranking." "I see." When he heard that it was the Foundation Establishment Realm internal competition, Ling Yunpo immediately breathed a sigh of relief. In any case, as long as they don't come to torment me, it's fine. Senior brother Juan and senior brother Lin are also going to form a golden elixir. Ling Yunpo sighed, calculating the time. It's almost time. The lifespan of the Foundation Establishment Realm is at most 200 years, and the two entered Shushan many years ahead of him. If they don't form a golden elixir, their lifespan will be exhausted. Where is senior sister Yuan? He thought for a moment and asked again. I remember that she entered the sect very early as well. She doesn't know. Zisu said unhappily. Anyway, with her personality, she will definitely calculate everything clearly, so there is no need for you and me to worry. I'm not worried about her, I just asked casually. Seeing that senior sister was jealous again, Ling Yunpo hurriedly smiled and clarified, Senior sister, please don't misunderstand. I didn't misunderstand. Oh. Zisu was embarrassed and angry. Why would I misunderstand this? I just don't want to mention it. Then don't mention it. Ling Yunpo hurriedly made amends and proposed to go down the mountain for a drink, which made Zisu turn from anger to joy. The two left King Luo Peak, went down the mountain to find a small town, and entered the wine shop. This time Ling Yunpo was more careful and scanned the surroundings. After confirming that there was no one he knew, he followed senior sister into the second floor. The two ordered some snacks. Zisu looked out the window boredly, while Ling Yunpo turned his thoughts and pondered. Thinking about it carefully, there are indeed many strange things about that incident. You know, even Shushan, which is extremely lenient with injuries caused by swords, will never tolerate malicious killing of fellow disciples. However, according to the news from Kunlun disciples, Zisu was only caught and interrogated, which is quite strange. According to the style of Shushan sect, if he was not dealt with on the spot but arrested and interrogated, it means that the murder charge may still be at the stage of suspicion. Since it is a suspicion, is there a possibility that he was framed? Chapter 692 The suspected victim appears, who was killed without permission. And when was it killed? Obviously it couldn't have happened in Shushan. If it happened in Shushan, the sect would know the crime as soon as it was investigated, and the severity of the crime would be clear. The punishment would be imposed soon, and it would be impossible for it to be spread to Kunlun. To spread to Kunlun Tai King sect, the premise is that the crime is controversial. Disputes led to arguments, and the arguments expand to the whole Shushan, so that Kunlun can hear about it. With this inference, the result is obvious. It must have happened during the Golden Palace secret realm, so Shushan couldn't find out the truth in the first time. But the question is, there is no fighting in the Golden Palace, so how could someone die? Ling Yunpo planned to get some information. The first target he chose was naturally Juan Fan Hai, who was about to pass the tribulation. Juan Fan Hai was the eldest brother of Wanglong Peak in the Foundation Establishment realm, and he would soon become a Golden Core true person. Therefore, he had a lot of prestige and connections in Wanglong Peak, and was well informed. Arriving at Wanglong Peak, Ling Yunpo privately met Juan Fan Hai and asked him about the Golden Palace secret realm. Where did you get this information from? Juan Fan Hai quickly signaled him to be silent. The sect strictly prohibits discussing this news. You should not know about it. You know everything, how can I not know? Ling Yunpo argued. I'm also a Jindan Senron after all. You King Luo Peak doesn't have elders. Juan Fan Hai said disdainfully. Look, as long as you can tolerate this person's straightforward character, Juan Fan Hai is indeed a good person to ask questions. Tell me what you know. Ling Yunpo said bluntly, otherwise, I will say that I learned the news about the Golden Secret Realm from you. Juan Fan Hai almost vomited blood when he heard this, and had to tell the truth. It is true. It seems that it was discovered by a real person from Ziyu Peak. The location is on the plateau, but the exact location is not clear. At present, the sect is keeping it strictly confidential. Remember not to rashly inquire about this matter when you are outside. I see. Ling Yunpo thought for a moment and asked again, who does the sect plan to let go? That's simple. Juan Fan Hai said without hesitation, the secret realm is limited to the Jindan realm. Union cultivators and foundation building disciples cannot go there. You and senior sister Jing Xiao won the first place in the last Baiyuzheng competition, and you were already Jindan real people, so you must take up 2 places. Ziyun Peak can get a place because it discovered the whereabouts of the Golden Secret Realm. I heard that Elder Ming were designated Miodan real person. The headmaster's department must also have a quota, and it will basically be Master Jingwei. He is the direct disciple of Master Yuzheng, and the first Golden Core Sword Immortal of Shushan below the Nascent Soul stage. the headmaster can rest assured if he leads the team. In addition, our senior brother Tianqi from Wanglong Peak and Master Shuyan from Jing'an Peak also got the quota through Master's efforts. As for whether there are other people, I don't know. Ling Yunpo nodded after hearing this, and thought carefully in his mind. The selection of these 6 people can reflect the complexity of the struggle within Shushan. The headmaster of Shushan is aloof from the world. Master Jingwu is similar to Qiu Chang's Haiyan. He can sit still and the sect will provide resources. It's very comfortable. Under the headmaster, it depends on the elders to show their magical powers. For example, Ziyun Peak, because it discovered the whereabouts of the Golden Secret Realm, is the first in merit, and it has the confidence to ask for a quota. Everyone is qualified for the remaining quota. Why should they give it to you and not to me? Although Jianfanhai used the understated word struggle, everyone actually knows how to struggle. It's almost a power struggle. So, is it possible that a certain peak coveted the quota in the hands of the senior sister and deliberately framed her? No, according to the timeline, at least the senior sister and I arrived at the Golden Secret Realm smoothly. After getting the specific details of the Shushan lineup from Jianfanhai in detail, Ling Yunpo planned to say goodbye and leave. If everything goes well, I should form a pill after you return. Jianfanhai said with a smile, if the real person King Fen is willing to do me a favor, you can come to help me cross the tribulation and protect the law. Of course. Ling Yunpo naturally agreed. After returning to King Luo Peak, he waited patiently. After more than a month, the head of Yuzheng really sent someone to King Luo Peak to convey the message, but it was his direct disciple Jingwasenren. Kim Fen, Jing Xiao. He said concisely, come with me to the golden summit of Imade Mountain to gather. Zisu didn't understand, but Ling Yunpo was well prepared. He hurried over to hold her hand and told her not to worry. So Sister Anne felt a little embarrassed again, and didn't care about what she was told to do in Imade Mountain. After arriving at the golden summit of Imade Mountain and entering the Patriarch's Hall, they saw that the other 3 immortals had already arrived, but there was no sign of the head of Yuzheng. They thought they would have to wait for a while. So the 6 of them waited in the Patriarch's Hall. Ling Yunpo looked around quietly. Immortal Shuyan was a calm man, and his Taoist robe couldn't hide his muscular body at all, which made Ling Yunpo wonder if he also practiced the secret technique of physical cultivation. Immortal Tianqi looked like a thin middle-aged man, giving people a sense of a teacher. At this time, he was concentrating on reading the sword stealthy. As for Master Maldan, she was a middle-aged woman with triangular eyes, and had a bit of the mean feeling of Master Mijua. Ling Yunpo could be sure that he did not judge people by appearance, because the other party had already started to provoke Zisu. Strange, how can a cultivator without a master be qualified to explore the secret realm this time? Zisu frowned slightly, but when she remembered Ling Yunpo's warning, she suppressed her anger and explained unhappily. My master is in seclusion, but he is not without a master. I think Master Maldan remembered it wrong. Oh. Master Maldan sneered, he hasn't come out of seclusion for so many years, who knows if he is dead. Zisu's murderous aura came out all of a sudden, and Ling Yunpo hurried over to hold her back, only to hear Master Shiwan say in a deep voice, say less, Maldan. Don't bring your past grudges with Elder Kisha into the sect's business. I dare not have any grudge against an elder. Maldan Senrun said with a cold face, in the past, Kisha Senrun ruined my sister's path, just like slaughtering livestock. If I say more, I might be killed by his 2 disciples. Who can I go to for justice then? Enough. Jing Senrun shouted, Maldan, the ancestral hall is not a place for you to show off your temper. If you don't restrain yourself, I will report to my master and ask Elder Minwu to hold you accountable. So Maldan Senrun shut up angrily and turned around to stare at the sword monument. Ling Yunpo finally held down the hand of the senior sister who was about to draw the sword. Seeing that Maldan Senrun no longer provoked him, he was relieved. Could it be that in the original timeline, it was because of this reason that senior sister and later found an opportunity to kill Maldan Senrun? This is troublesome. Chapter 693. Subconsciously gaining favor. What should be done if senior sister and really killed Master Maldan? The answer is nothing can be done. Although there are no secular legal constraints for cultivators, ordinary moral codes are still in effect, and the most basic one is killing for a life. To cross the bottom line in killing for a life, you must try to deal with the victim's family. Whether it is coercion or inducement, it is not something that King Luo Peak can do now. Therefore, if senior sister and really killed Master Maldan, then there is no choice but to surrender to the law. At most, Ling Yunpo will take her out of Shushan and flee to the ends of the earth. Most of the apostates are basically because of violating the sect rules and committing serious crimes. It is better to think about how to stop Senior Sister Anne. After all, the news received from Kunlun is suspected of killing a fellow disciple, not conclusive evidence of guilt, which means there is still room for maneuver. In the past, Ling Yunpo was quite confident in Senior Sister Anne's sense of propriety. After all, she had fought with her fellow disciples so many times, but she never really failed once, which means that she never lost her calm and rationality. Forget it, since she is suspected of killing her fellow disciples, I have no confidence in Senior Sister Anne. Soon, the head of Yuzheng came out from the back hall and gave the 6 people a serious lecture, telling them how difficult it was for Shushan to win 6 places this time, and asked everyone to try their best and not let the sect lose face. Ling Yunpo listened silently beside him, thinking that you may not know that we Shushan sent 6 people, but only 3 entered in the end. Kunlun sent 3 people, but only 3 entered. Whether this is considered a loss is another matter, but the sect must have lost much face. After the lecture before leaving, everyone went out to meet the Kunlun and Penglai monks who came, and then stepped onto the treasure ship thrown by the head of Yuzheng and began to fly towards Shiwa Peak. Ling Yunpo folded his arms and leaned against the side of the ship, not looking at the past Qiu Changtai or the future Luoyan, but just thinking silently. It was still the same question. Fighting was not allowed in the secret realm, so how did the victim die? Was it Senior Sister Anne who was the murderer? Thinking about it, he suddenly felt as if the air conditioner was turned on, and it suddenly became cold. Ling Yunpo came back to his senses and saw Nzisu and Zhu Yingyan fighting with each other again, making the atmosphere at the scene so intense that other cultivators retreated. Senior Sister. He hurried over to grab Nzisu's arm and advised her to calm down quickly, don't get into a conflict with the people at Kunlun. When the time comes, it will be embarrassing for the head of Yuzheng to see you. But she started it first. Nzisu was still unconvinced and said stubbornly. Ling Yunpo had a headache. Are you a child? Why are you fighting here? He was about to continue persuading her when Shilili came over and said with a smile, Master Jingxiao, why are you and Master Cunning staring at each other? Are you practicing some unique skills? This sounded like sarcasm, but her expression was very normal, and there was no sarcasm in her expression, so Nzisu felt a little embarrassed, and finally looked away and said, nothing, just some small problems. Well done, Miss Shi. Ling Yunpo cast a grateful look at her, and Shilili didn't say anything, just smiled and turned back to Luoyan. The following process is not repeated. In short, everyone arrived at Shiwa Peak, and then Shilili and Jianbian calculated together and found clues. Luoyan found the traces of the altar and opened the light path, and then the demon monks who were ambushing on the side rushed in. Ling Yunpo said nothing, grabbed Nzisu and rushed to the light path first. Seeing this, the rest of the people reacted and rushed over. The higher you go on the Tongtai Light Road, the steeper and more difficult it becomes. Nzisu could not bear the slope and could only force herself to steady her body. She supported Ling Yunpo from behind with her arms and shouted, Junior brother. Hold on first. Ling Yunpo knew that even if you didn't climb up, the light road would keep moving upwards, so it was a safe escape. He subconsciously said, Senior Sister, I will release the Kingping sword later. You grab its hilt, and then I will shoot the flying sword upwards with all my strength. It all depends on luck how high I can take you. What? Nzisu was stunned for a moment, then she reacted immediately and shouted excitedly, how can this be? It has always been the senior sister who protects the junior brother. How could the junior brother sacrifice for the senior sister? She quickly counterattacked and said, your method is good, but you chose the wrong person. I'm a second-grade golden elixir, and my true energy is much stronger than yours. Why don't I use Fei'an sword to send you up, and the chance of winning will be greater? Ling Yunpo then acted determined and said angrily, no. How can I leave you alone? Then I can't sacrifice my junior brother. Nzisu's eyes were slightly red. So this is not the end, right? Ling Yunpo sneered in his heart, and suddenly thought of something, and said strangely, Senior sister, if you hold the Kingping sword and I hold the Fei'an sword, and we each drive our own life sword to fly up, can we break through the sword control here? Nzisu was also stunned when he heard it. The so-called flying control does not allow cultivators to fly by any means. For example, if someone tries to fly with a sword, if they are discovered by the control, they will be smashed down fiercely. A typical example is Sister Zhu. But what if I hold someone else's flying sword? This flying sword is not under my control, so strictly speaking, it is not me who is flying, but something else that is carrying me. And before the two of them could think for long, the light path finally tilted to a completely vertical position, resulting in no place to hold themselves. Zisu subconsciously shot out the Feon sword and shouted, "Brother, hold on." Ling Yunpo also shot out the Kingping sword. The two of them each grabbed the hilt of the other's sword with one hand, and used the other hand to pinch the sword formula, trying to fly the sword upwards. As a result, it seemed as if the gravity here was abnormal. Although I tried my best to drive the flying sword, my body still fell down uncontrollably, just a little slower, like a parachute. Finally landing on the ground, Ling Yunpo looked around and realized that this was already inside the Golden Palace secret realm. "Is this the Golden Palace?" Zisu asked in surprise, looking at the pavilions and towers in the distance. "That's what I thought." Ling Yunpo drew out the Kingping sword and said calmly, "Senior sister, be careful, I'll protect you." Zisu smiled and also called the Feon sword to her side, saying, "It's good to go together." The two of them took every step as if they were facing a great enemy, and explored forward carefully. After passing about 2 corners, several maids suddenly turned out from the front and said with a smile, "So it's here. 2 sword immortals, please follow us to see the true lord." Chapter 694 Junior brother is right. If the Baiyuzheng secret realm is a battle of strength, then the Wangjingke secret realm is a battle of wits. The 12 true masters correspond to 12 positions, and they can only be obtained through various temple calculation tests, which include logical reasoning, psychology, and game theory. Although this world does not have so many professional terms, it does not prevent the ancients from setting corresponding levels. Ling Yunpo and Zisu followed the maid, turned around a large number of pavilions, flower corridors and walked aside pavilions, and finally arrived at a courtyard. There were already 4 monks sitting in the courtyard. One was Miao Danxinren from Shushan, and the other 3 were unknown, but looking at their charming and seductive postures like fairies, they must be monks from the Tianmo. Among the 6 paths, the Tianmo only recruits female disciples, and the Shudo only recruits male disciples. The former are all charming beauties, and the latter are all bold strong men. Basically, they can be easily identified from their appearance. In addition to the 4 monks, there is also a beautiful woman in palace clothes, who is probably one of the 12 true masters. "I am sorry for not entertaining you, my distinguished guest." The beautiful woman in palace dress said with a smile, "I am the true Lord Zhao Lin, and I am also one of the true lords stationed in the Golden Palace secret realm. If you want to take the position of the palace master, please sit here for a while." Seeing that the other party had no hostility, Zisu and Ling Yunpo found a place to sit together. In this way, there are 6 people. The true Lord Zhaolin continued to smile. "According to the rules of the Golden Palace secret realm, everyone needs to pass the test designed by me, and the winner can take the position of the palace master. My test is also very simple. There is an inhuman demon who sneaked into you and broke into this secret realm when the secret realm was opened. As long as you find it before noon tomorrow and report to me, you will pass the test." Everyone looked at each other. Inhuman demon, what is that? Considering that the Golden Palace secret realm is high above the sky, it is most likely a demon from outside the domain. Just as true Lord Zhaoling was about to leave, a cultivator of the heavenly demon Dro asked, "Excuse me, true Lord, what are the characteristics of that inhuman demon? Can you give me a hint?" That inhuman demon was discovered as soon as it entered the secret realm. True Lord Zhaoling said with a smile, "We joined forces to repel it. It should be hiding somewhere now. But the demons have always been cunning and changeable. I don't know how it will hide and disguise itself. In short, it depends on your ability to respond on the spot. By the way, this time the purpose is to test your wisdom and strategy. You are not allowed to use force to hurt each other, except for the inhuman demon." After that, true Lord Zhaoling left slowly. Everyone looked at each other for a moment, and then another heavenly demon cultivator smiled charmingly and said, "Since we can't fight each other, then we should compete in peace." Although he said you and me, his eyes were clearly looking at Zisu and Ling Yunpo. Obviously, these 2 cultivators who made it to the top 12 in the Baiyuzheng competition were also notorious in the heavenly demon and they were extremely feared. Zisu didn't say anything. She didn't like the demon cultivators in the first place, and it was the extreme not to draw the sword at this time. Ling Yunpo nodded, and left with Sisterin without saying anything. Mao Danxinren was ignored from beginning to end, and she was almost mad with anger. However, fighting was not allowed here, and her proud swordsmanship could not be used, so she could only leave with a dark face. Ling Yunpo wandered around with Zisu, thinking silently in his heart. Previously, in Qiu Chang Tian's timeline, when he came to the palace of the true Lord of Liandu and learned the content of the test, Arjun gave him 2 hints, saying that the future Wei Dongliu gave her through the future Arjun. The first was to ask Arjun to pretend to be the Maldan true Lord of Shushan, so as to gather 6 people to participate in the test of the true Lord of Liandu. Since no one knows Arjun's true identity, it is impossible for anyone to guess it. Therefore, when Qiu Chang Tian becomes the chosen one, he will transfer him to Arjun, so that he will be invincible. The second is that the true Lord of Demon Bone is smart and pretends to transfer the chosen one to himself, but actually leaves the identity to the other party. After getting the hint from his future self, Qiu Chang Tian confirmed the identity of the chosen one from Sisters Yu, and naturally ignored the trick of the true Lord of Demon Bone and filled in the correct answer directly. So the question is, since the last exam was able to directly reveal the questions, why didn't the future me explain the answer to the inhuman demon this time with the present me? Strange. Maybe it was because the answer was too simple, so that there was no need to work hard to find it, and it could be obtained smoothly. Well, maybe we can directly encounter the inhuman demon while walking. Thinking of this, Ling Yunpo simply gave up thinking, and followed Zisu around to search for the traces of the inhuman demon. Soon, a night passed. Ling Yunpo almost vomited blood. Where is the inhuman demon? If we continue to try our luck aimlessly, the deadline of noon will soon come. Hey! Ajin, scan for me. Do you really want to scan? Kumlin Jing asked for confirmation. What do you mean by really want to scan? Ling Yunpo said dissatisfiedly, if we don't scan, how can we find the other party's trace? Okay then. Kumlin Jing laughed, you walk around so that I can scan a larger area. Ling Yunpo stopped Senior Sister and said, Senior Sister, if we continue to search like this, isn't it like looking for a needle in a haystack? Junior brother, do you have an idea? Zisu was already bored and anxious, and her eyes lit up when she heard the words. This junior fellow of mine is indeed much smarter than me. He came up with the idea of following the bird to find the island in the South China Sea in the past, and maybe he will have some clever ideas this time. I don't have any good ideas. Ling Yunpo said modestly, I just think that the inhuman demon, if it is really a demon from heaven, could it have already hidden in someone's body and turned into a demon in the heart? It's very likely. Zisu said without thinking, and then pondered, then we shouldn't look for the demon, but for the person, right? But if it is really a demon in the heart that has sneaked into the cultivator's body, we don't have any good means of detection. In fact, the entire cultivation world has no good means of detecting demons in the heart, especially those that lurk deep in the cultivator's heart and have not exposed themselves. Otherwise, how could a clear heart of Tao be a rare and unique gift? That's true. Ling Yunpo said with a smile, however, Senior Sister, have you noticed that true Lord Zhorling did not set a punishment for us for finding the wrong person? That is to say, if we find someone and suspect that he has a hidden demon in his heart, and use this as the answer to report to true Lord Zhorling. If the answer is correct, we will naturally pass, but if the answer is wrong, there is no punishment, right? On the contrary, it is equivalent to eliminating the wrong answers. I see. Zisu opened his eyes wide, revealing an admiring expression of junior brother, you are so awesome. Chapter 695. Dealing with the witness. Although we are looking for other cultivators to observe carefully to see if their behavior is unusual. But without the scanning of a jinn, it is almost as unreliable as predicting future achievements by face reading. The success rate may be less than 1%. Fortunately, it was Zisu. If Zhu Yinglyan was here, he would have questioned him until he could not answer. After all, Senior Sister is easier to fool. The two of them wandered around in the secret realm, looking for cultivators who were undergoing the golden trial. Every time they found someone, Ling Yunpo would pretend to be mysterious and observe for a moment, then shake his head and say I don't feel anything unusual, and Zisu would just say oh. It was not until almost noon that Senior Sister realized that something was wrong and asked doubtfully, Junior brother, can our method really work? Hold on, Senior Sister, don't give up until the last moment. Ling Yunpo encouraged her, maybe we will find a clue later. Zisu thought so too. After all, there was no other good way, so she could only continue searching like this. Unconsciously, the two had returned to the vicinity of the palace where the true Lord Zhaoling was originally. Kumlan Mirror suddenly said lazily, found it, right in front, the female sword fairy. Ling Yunpo looked carefully and saw that in the long corridor in front, true Lord Maldan was talking to true Lord Jingwei. Female sword fairy. So the inner demon was hiding in the sea of consciousness of true Lord Maldan? Not hiding. Kumlan Mirror corrected him, but wearing her skin. I guess that when you were searching the secret realm, true Lord Maldan was also wandering around, and then was discovered and devoured by the demon. Is that so? Ling Yunpo's mind turned rapidly. So true Lord Maldan was the victim. The real murderer was the demon. But why did he involve senior sister Anne? Before he could react, Zisu had already noticed the abnormality of true Lord Maldan. After all, she was born with a sword heart, and she was very sensitive to the breath and the like, and she also vaguely felt that there was something wrong with true Lord Maldan. In normal times, she would not think too much. But now that they knew about the existence of the demon, and Ling Yunpo had been staring at Maldan Shinran for too long, Zisu immediately knew that this person was not right. With a pinch of sword formula, she quickly shot out the Feon sword, which was aimed at Maldan Shinran's back. Ling Yunpo was shocked and quickly drove the Kingping sword to block it. As a result, as soon as the Kingping sword and Feon sword collided, Ling Yunpo immediately felt a sharp pain in his danton under the excitement of his true essence. Oops, I forgot that the damn root was still growing. The pain came so suddenly that Ling Yunpo lost control of the Kingping sword, and the Feon sword that was not blocked slipped out. Maldan Shinran seemed to be unaware, but just let the flying sword pierce his chest, bringing out a bright blood flower. Then he cried out and fell to the ground and died. Zisu suddenly felt something was wrong. Her sword controlling skills were not known for being secretive, and she did not deliberately pursue sneak attacks. She just made a tentative attack to see if she could force the opponent to be abnormal, but how could Maldan Shinran not be able to defend it? Sure enough, there was a problem. Jing reacted suddenly, and immediately turned around to control his sword, offering his natal sword in front of him to defend himself. However, Ling Yunpo suddenly strode forward, walked to the side of Maldan Shinran's body, stretched out his hand to grab Maldan Shinran's shoulders, and lifted him up easily. Jing Shinran saw clearly. There was no body of Maldan Shinran. It was clear that there was only a skin left. All the essence, energy, and blood in her body were plundered by the demon, leaving only a skin bag on the surface. Considering the cultivation level of Maldan Shinran, how powerful should the demon who attacked her be? See clearly, senior brother Jinwei. Ling Yunpo said in a deep voice. This Maldan Shinran had already been killed by the demon. My senior sister tried to force her to show something strange because she saw something was wrong. If not, she would have led you to a deserted place and pounced on you, and you would have died. Jing Shinran's face was ashen, and he could not refute. He really wanted to say that even if the demon attacked him, it might not be able to kill him. But failing to identify the demon was embarrassing enough, and no matter how he tried to defend himself, it still felt like he was just trying to be tough. Looking at the body of Maldan Shinran, Jinwu had a headache again. He was the one who led the team to the Golden Palace secret realm this time, but someone died again. Well, why did I say again? Anyway, he had to think about how to report to his master when he got back. Sister. Ling Yunpo said calmly, go find Zhao Ling's Hinjin and tell her that we have found this demon. Ask her to come and deal with it quickly. But, Zisu wanted to say something, but seeing that his junior brother and Shinran Jing were both very serious, he vaguely realized that he seemed to have caused trouble, so he could only respond quietly and leave. After watching Zisu leave, Ling Yunpo sighed. Although he had long known that history could not be changed, he only realized the terrifying effect of karma after experiencing it once. If Su Jian had not caused hatred in the past, Maldan Shinran would not have spoken out against King Luo Peak, and naturally would not have provoked Zisu's hatred, and she would not have tried to test him without saying anything. If I had not just taken the Wonxai Immortal's elixir, I could have stopped senior sister from using her full strength to test her. If Shinran Jing had not happened to be here, I'm so annoyed, I might as well kill this guy. If it weren't for the fact that it was not possible to use force in the Golden Secret Realm, Ling Yunpo would have even had the urge to kill Master Jinwei. Now he could only persuade him earnestly. Brother Jinwei, you also know that it is not possible to use force in the Golden Secret Realm, but Sister Miodan had already been devoured by the Heavenly Demon, so my sister could draw her sword at her, which is also that best proof that she had already been possessed by the Heavenly Demon. I know this too. Master Jinwei frowned and said, but Master Miodan died in the secret realm, so there must be an explanation. Brother Jinwei, do you mean that we King Luo Peak should give an explanation? Ling Yunpo asked unhappily. No, it is a Sime who should give an explanation to Ziyun Peak. Master Jinwei sighed and said, I was the leader this time, but something went wrong again. I will definitely apologize to Master. Ling Yunpo was relieved when he heard this. Master Jing's personality is upright to put it nicely, and rigid to put it bluntly. In the past, during the trip to the demon locking tower, this person was easily confused by the smoke bomb released by Tu Shanjin, and actually thought that it was Su Jian who killed someone. But to put it another way, this person has no independent thinking ability and is easily influenced by others. Since he said that he wanted to ask the master for forgiveness, that is to say, this person should believe what I said before to exonerate senior sister. After dealing with this only witness, even if senior sister is suspected of killing a fellow disciple and is investigated by Shushan, I think it will be fine in the end. Then next, I have to find a way to get my own position in the Golden Palace. Chapter 696. Ancient Secrets, who can tell them? Thinking back carefully, Ling Yunpo had to admit that he had indeed made the mistake of being careless. He originally thought that fighting was not allowed in the Golden Secret Realm, so even if the root of the elixir in his abdomen was still growing and he could not fight, he could pretend to be Ling Yunpo without making any mistakes. However, he did not expect that senior sister could actually attack this Maldan Hinran. Who could have thought of this in advance? It was agreed that no fighting was allowed, and then suddenly an exception of inhuman demon was made. Was it deliberately calculating me? After thinking about it, Ling Yunpo felt that it was not a problem of his carelessness, but a problem of historical uniqueness. Because when he was Qiu Chang's high in the past, he learned that senior sister was arrested by Shushan for suspected of killing a fellow disciple, so in order to ensure that this historical uniqueness was not flawed, Tiandao forcibly blinded his reason and quietly created an unexpected blind spot in his originally meticulous and seamless logical thinking. Tiandao, you are so despicable. Fortunately, he finally made a remedy. Now that he has convinced Shenron Jin, at least the murderer who killed Shenron Maldan has been identified. The next step is to return to Mount Chu and arrest senior sister for investigation. With the testimony of Master Jin, she may not be convicted in the end. Now senior sister has gone to Master Hall to get the golden position. After getting it, she will be sent to the attic immediately, so I just need to get another position. Senior brother Jinwei. Ling Yunpo bowed and saluted. It has been more than a day since we entered the secret realm. Have you found any clues to the golden position? Master Jinwei smiled bitterly when he heard this. Yesterday, I met Master Ziyuan. It's a pity that I didn't know much and failed her test in the end. Senior brother Jin was just a newcomer and hasn't found the way yet. I think he will be able to get the position smoothly in the future. Ling Yunpo encouraged him for a while, and then asked casually, has anyone passed her test? No. Master Jin shook his head. The test is really weird, let me tell you. Ling Yunpo secretly took note, and asked about the location of Master Ziyuan, and then quickly rushed over. Lian Du's Hinjin and Jiao's Hinjin lived in the palace, Zhou Hinjin lived in the courtyard, and Ziyuan's Hinjin lived in a tower on the edge of the palace city. Ling Yunpo came to the bottom of the tower, climbed up the steps, and climbed to the top floor. He saw a heroic woman in military uniform standing with her hands behind her back, and several maids stood on both sides. There were several cultivators sitting below. He quickly scanned them and recognized one was Jin Lan's Hinran from Penglai, one was Shuyuan's Hinran from Shushan, one was an unfamiliar Shurda monk, and another, Shishi. It was actually Guo Jin. When did my good disciple actually form a golden pill? And he was brought to the secret realm by Wei Dongliu. But if you calculate carefully, this disciple has been practicing Taoism for 70 or 80 years, and with the care and support of Jingmo NV, it is just right to form a 4th grade golden pill at this time. If you can find 4 or 5 purple mansion secret realms and accumulate 200 years of Watfu cultivation in advance, it is not impossible to form a 3rd grade golden pill. I wasted so much time in the Watfu stage in order to accumulate 800 years of cultivation and form the unprecedented 1st grade golden elixir. For other ordinary cultivators, it is normal to form a golden elixir within 70 or 80 years without too high requirements for the grade of the golden elixir. My dear, please wait here for a while. The heroic woman looked at Ling Yunpo and said with a smile, when one more person comes, we will have 6 people, and the test will begin immediately. Ling Yunpo pretended that he didn't know anyone and sat down at random. After waiting for a while, he suddenly heard a commotion below, and 4 Yingadeo cultivators rushed up. If the leader was not Demon Bone Master, who else could it be? Ling Yunpo was secretly shocked, but after careful calculation, he found that Demon Bone Master was in the test of Jiao Master at this time, and was eliminated by Qiu Chang's Hyle with great wisdom, so it was normal for him to find this place. The Demon Bone Master looked around and said with a smile, may I ask, Master, does the number of people who participate in the test have to be 6? Or can it be more? Only 6 people. The heroic woman smiled. Okay. The demon bone master rolled his eyes and said to the 2 demon monks on the scene, Master Mingling, King Fei Kong, I want to bring people to participate in this trial. I wonder if you 2 can give up the qualification. Ling Yunpo widened his eyes and heard that foreign monk said indifferently, it's okay to give it, but what for? How about this? The demon bone master threw out 2 storage bags. The foreign monk took the storage bag, scanned it with his spiritual consciousness, and immediately showed a satisfied smile, raised one palm and said, Amitabha, I practice Buddhism and don't want to compete with others. I'll give it to you. After that, he hurried away with the storage bag. Guo-jin took the bag, threw it back to Master Magi without even looking at it, and said calmly, I am here to take the golden throne on the orders of my master, so I must go all out. I dare not accept the gift from my fellow Taoist. Master Magi looked at him for a long time, his face darkened, and he sneered. Okay, junior brother Mingling has a noble character, I admire you very much. Li Menchen will follow me to participate in the trial, and the rest of you will retreat for the time being and guard outside the tower. The 2 men retreated without saying a word. So only Master Magi and Li Menchen were left in the tower, just enough to make up the number of 6 people. Since there are already 6 people, let's start the test. The heroic woman looked around and then said with a smile, my Taoist name is Ziyuan, so you can call me Ziyuan Xinjin. A day has passed, and I think you all know the rules of this secret realm. The test here is also very simple. I like to listen to all kinds of ancient secrets. If anyone can tell me a secret that I have never heard before, then this test will be considered passed. Upon hearing this, everyone looked at each other in surprise. Ancient secrets. What does it mean? Excuse me, what counts as an ancient secret? Jin Lansenron asked in a deep voice. If it involves major events in the world of cultivation and happened in the past, it counts as an ancient secret. Ziyuan Xinjin smiled and said, if you tell me that your junior brother hunted a strange beast in the mountains a few days ago, this cannot be considered a secret. So everyone suddenly realized. The secret that Ziyuan Xinjin was talking about refers to the kind of news that was well known enough at the time and still has value today. Demon Bone Master immediately said, I have a secret here, I want to tell Ziyuan Master. He had already thought it through. Since it is a secret, the person who speaks first will definitely have the most advantage. If the first secret can make Ziyuan Master have never heard of it, then the first person will win directly. Even if the people who come after also have such secrets, they have no chance of winning, so they must take the lead. Please speak. Ziyuan Master smiled. Have you ever heard of the Skull Cave in the White Bone Mountain? Said Demon Bone Master with a smile. What I want to talk about is the origin of the White Bone Mountain. Oh? I know a thing or two about the origin of the White Bone Mountain. True Lord Ziyuan smiled faintly. The White Bone Mountain is located in the Baimang Mountain, north of Luoyang. Because of the excellent Feng Shui trend, the people of Hello often bury their graves near this mountain. In the late Eastern Han Dynasty, famine was everywhere and countless people died. Many people abandoned the bodies of their dead parents, wives, and children in the mountain, which were eaten by wild dogs, beasts, and starving people, leaving bones all over the ground and exposed in the wilderness. Therefore, the White Bone Mountain got the reputation. Demon Bone Master was stunned, and then said unwillingly, and the Skull Cave, the origin of the Skull Cave is the place where Shiji Nying of the Jirijiao attained enlightenment. True Lord Ziyuan said leisurely, Shiji was originally a stubborn stone that became a spirit. After she became intelligent, she called the cave where she was born the Skull Cave. So Master Magi was completely speechless. Ling Yunpo sat beside him, looking straight ahead, sighing in his heart. As Master Jingwu said, Master Ziyuan knew everything from astronomy to geography. No matter what ancient secrets you said, the other party could tell you almost everything, and even more than you. Chapter 697a. Jin, you can't do it. In this world, the secular feudal dynasties have historians who specialize in compiling history, but the sects in the world of cultivation do not have similar positions. Only some sect deacons who guard the classics will sort and store the various ancient books collected by the sects in different categories. That's all. It's impossible to compile them. You can just read what you want to read, and forget it if you don't want to read it. Therefore, most of the ancient secrets that most cultivators know, except for occasionally reading them in the suitor library like looking for a needle in a haystack, are mostly from word of mouth. To some extent, the average experience of cultivators is even far less than that of modern people in the information explosion. In the era of information explosion, it is impossible for you to know everything in the world, and it is more effective to be familiar with various search engines. However, in this era, it is probably only a Xinhua dictionary thick enough to record all the world affairs. After all, the information dissemination channels are too closed, and there are not many news that can be spread to the level of world affairs. Ling Yunpo can be sure that this Golden Palace secret realm is hanging high above the sky, and there must be some kind of calculation method that can detect the world. In addition, these true lords are probably like the Sword Master in the White Jade Capital secret realm, all of them are projections left by the former human race. Usually, they do nothing in the secret realm, but just keep these world affairs everywhere. Who can compare with them? If I am right, any ancient secrets that can be found in the classics, or world events that can be told by relevant people, will definitely not be hidden from the eyes and ears of these true lords. To win this test, you must come up with real dry goods, the secrets obtained from the mouths of the witnesses of the incident, which have never been leaked on a large scale, are the most likely answers to meet the requirements. However, if it is really a very secret that no one knows, then how can the true lord confirm that it is true and not made up by you? Perhaps it can only be verified by arithmetic. Ling Yunpo's thoughts turned quickly, and he was thinking about various possibilities in his mind. Others also thought of what Demon Bone Master had thought of, that is, the first person to speak has the advantage, and hurriedly rushed to share the secrets they knew. Unfortunately, as Ling Yunpo had speculated above, no matter what secrets everyone said, the Purple Yuan Master could speak very quickly and clearly to add more details, as if she herself was the person who was in the story. Ling Yunpo watched coldly and asked Jin secretly, Jin, do you have any secrets that can help me pass this test? I have plenty of secrets. Jin replied, but I can't guarantee whether true Lord Zi Yuan has heard of it. And there is still a problem. Ling Yunpo said in a deep voice, how should I explain the source of this secret? No need, right? Jin said strangely, can't you just say that you read it in a book? Besides, these people are not Shushan cultivators, how could they suspect you from this aspect? After all, it is better not to arouse suspicion. Ling Yunpo reminded, although it must be an ancient secret, it is best not to be the kind of major that makes people feel that must report to the master immediately when they hear it. Your requirements are really getting more and more. Jin sighed and said, okay, let me think about it. She hasn't thought of it yet. She heard True Lord Mogyu suddenly laugh. Fellow Daoist King Fen, why have everyone else shared their thoughts, but you haven't said a word? Don't you have any confidence in passing the test, so you've given up in advance? After what happened with Qiu Chang Tian, Ling Yunpo already knew that this guy had some problems with his brain, so he simply ignored him. As a result, the other party persisted and said, how about this, you withdraw from the test now and give the qualification to my men. I will also give you some compensation. After all, you Shushan monks can't do anything except flying swords. I'm doing this to save your face. Ling Yunpo sighed and was about to speak when he suddenly heard Kunlun Mirror say, I got it, you might as well ask the Zi Yuan Xinjin if he knows about the Fairyland. What Fairyland? Ling Yunpo was confused. Jin, are you talking about the Fairyland after the immortals ascended to heaven? Of course. Kunlun Mirror said with a smile, these Xinjin are the projections left by the great human beings in this world, and those great human beings must not have ascended at the time, so it is impossible for them to know anything about the Fairyland. If you tell her about the Fairyland, you'll definitely pass the test. So that's how it is. That's a good idea. Ling Yunpo sneered and said, so why do I know about the Fairyland? No one else mentions it. If this Demon Bone Immortal goes back and rashly spreads it, and the whole cultivation world knows about it, then people from Shushan will come to me and ask, where did you read about the Fairyland? How should I answer? Just say you read it in a book. Come on, I knew you were unreliable. Ling Yunpo and Kunlun Jin were arguing with each other, and Demon Bone Immortal saw that he remained silent, so he smiled and said, you are still a taciturn person. But considering that you are from Shushan, it's not surprising. Enough. After hearing this man insulting Shushan again and again, the calm Yuan Immortal couldn't listen anymore. Demon Bone, if you want to take the test, think about your secrets carefully and don't say such unnecessary words, otherwise it will only expose your shallowness and ignorance. No, I don't mean to look down on him. Demon Bone Master suddenly crossed his legs roughly and sneered, the reason why King Hin Master didn't speak is because he saw through it from the beginning. There is no way to win this test. Zi Yuan Master, let me ask you. If we really told you an ancient secret that you have never heard of before, how would you judge its truth? Although I have never heard of it, there are arithmetic methods to verify it. Ziyuan Master said with a smile. That's the problem. Demon Bone Master clapped his hands and said, we thought of an ancient secret, and just when we started, you immediately used arithmetic methods to calculate the ins and outs of this secret, and then said a lot of things, and finally said I already knew this secret. How can we beat you in this way? Because from the beginning, you're invincible. Ling Yunpa listened secretly, thinking that Demon Bone Master was quite good at talking nonsense. These true lords designed the test not to stump everyone, but to eliminate most people and leave one person to inherit the position of the Lord of the Golden Palace. If no one passes this test in the end, it means that the Golden Palace position in hand cannot be given away, and the true lord will have to think of another test again. Isn't that asking for trouble? However, he also saw that the reason why True Lord Magi was making trouble was because he felt that the possibility of passing the test according to the rules was very small, so he tried to instigate and incite everyone to make a fuss and play some tricks. Sure enough, another True Lord Lianshan, who came from the magic path, immediately shouted at the top of his voice. What Magi said is very true. No one can pass this test from the beginning, so what's the point of us coming here? Looking at Yinlan and Shuyan again, although they didn't agree with them, their expressions seemed to be shaken. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Mundo Fanfic Novelers, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelers. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 698 Ling Yunpo successfully promoted. Of course I have the means to verify the authenticity of the ancient secrets you shared. Facing the accusation of Demon Bone Master, Purple Origin Master smiled unchanged. As for what you are worried about, it is also very simple. I will not use magic to cheat. As long as the secrets you told me are indeed ones I have never heard of, I will naturally admit that you have passed the test. How to prove it? Demon Bone Master questioned. No need to prove it. Purple Origin Master was still laughing. You can only choose to stay or leave. Puff. Ling Yunpo couldn't hold it back and laughed out loud. This Demon Bone Master was probably used to making trouble inside the Ingido. He subconsciously thought that all organizers had to save face. When he was questioned about funniness, the first thing he thought about was how to explain, or even make concessions to appease the people's grievances. But this master is just a projection. To put it bluntly, if he was not bound by the rules of the secret realm, he would have no worries even if he just messed up. You want to control this master by making trouble? It's really naive. Although he suppressed his laughter, the room was so small and no one spoke, so Master Magi heard it anyway. Master King Fen, what's your opinion? He said coldly, keeping a fake smile. I don't have any opinions. Ling Yunpo sighed, but it won't work. If we both give up this trial, I want to know if this master will give in. Master Magi simply stopped pretending after his intention was exposed. He said coldly, what kind of test is it to tell you about an ancient secret that you have never heard of? Since it is a test, it naturally has meaning. Master Ziyuan said leisurely, if you don't understand, why don't you try the tests of other masters? Anyway, there are more than one master in this secret realm. Humph. Master Magi stood up and left without hesitation with another subordinate. Obviously, in his opinion, there is almost no possibility of winning this test. It is better to give up as soon as possible to avoid wasting time here. Seeing that Master Magi had left, Ling Yunpo suddenly became alert and thought of a possibility. Wait, if everyone gives up and leaves, can't I just tell all kinds of secrets without worrying about being questioned? He turned to look at the other three people, and saw Master Jinlan hesitate for a moment, then stood up silently and chose to leave. So only Master Shuyan, Yuojin and Ling Yunpo were left in the tower. Master Shuyan was still unwilling to give up, and continued to tell a few secrets, one of which Ling Yunpo had never heard of, but was explained and supplemented by Master Ziyuan, and was deemed invalid. After about half an hour, Master Shuyan could no longer hold on, so he had to get up and leave. Ling Yunpo looked at Yuojin, thinking that this stupid disciple couldn't tell a secret, so why didn't he leave? Yuojin also looked at the ground blankly, racking his brains to think of the answer, but he didn't usually care about such things, so how could he think of it at this time? If only the master, mistress or junior sister were here, he thought in frustration. Seeing that Yuojin was still indifferent, Ling Yunpo finally lost his patience. No more waiting. At worst, I can use Wei Dongliu's identity to ask Yuojin not to tell anyone later. Ziyuan's Hanjin. He bowed and said loudly, excuse me, Have you heard of the fairy world? Fairy world? Ziyuan's Hinjin was slightly startled, and then a look of surprise appeared on her face. Obviously, she didn't know about the fairy world. In other words, the cultivators who are still active in the world of cultivation do not and cannot know about the fairy world, just like the living people cannot know what happens after death. Precisely because this thing cannot explain the source, Ling Yunpo wants to try to eliminate the possibility of leaks from the audience. If it is really a matter of the fairyland. True Lord Ziyuan calmed himself down and smiled. I am willing to listen attentively. I also read it from a miscellaneous book. I don't know whether it is true or not. Ling Yunpo listened to Kunlun Mirror's words in his sea of consciousness, and he repeated it himself. The fairyland is different from the mortal world. It's like a deep ocean. Yeah. True Lord Ziyuan nodded and took note. Every drop of water in the ocean is composed of highly concentrated spiritual energy. Ling Yunpo said slowly, in such a high-energy environment, even stubborn stones and dust can quickly become spirits and gain cultivation. Not to mention the mortals in it, who can move mountains and fill the sea with just a move of their hands. Fortunately, the fairyland is very far away from our world. Even when the celestial spheres intersect, it will take tens of thousands of years at the speed of light to reach the fairyland from us. It is precisely because it is so far away that our world will not be seriously affected by the fairyland, or even completely destroyed. I see. True Lord Ziyuan calculated with his fingers and got an answer that he did not lie. He couldn't help but sigh. Even stubborn stones and dust can easily gain cultivation, that is to say, in the fairyland, it is also easy to gain enlightenment. It's a pity that I no longer have the chance to visit the fairyland. She showed a sad smile, pondered for a long time, and then slowly said, as said before, the position in my hand is yours. Guo Jin was stunned when he heard this. Only then did he realize that what King Feng's Hinran said was true. Ziyuan's Hinran. He asked hurriedly, excuse me, is that fairyland just as you said? Before he could ask, he saw Ziyuan's Hinjin clapping his hands, and 7 or 8 maids rushed out from under the tower, escorting Ling Yunpo away. This Mingling's Hinran. After sending Ling Yunpo away, Ziyuan's Hinjin turned to Guo Jin and said with a smile, I don't have the golden throne in my hand. Do you still want to stay here? Guo Jin was silent for a long time, as if he had been shocked by some information. It took him a long time to come back to his senses. He bowed briefly and said goodbye. Then Ziyuan's Hinjin was left alone in the tower. She sat alone in the empty room, mumbling something in her mouth. No one knew what she was saying. Ziyuan. A person suddenly appeared from under the tower. It was the true Lord Liandu. The foreign demon has been caught and expelled by Zhaoling. True Lord Jiao got inspiration from this incident and wants to find a true lord to pretend to be a foreign cultivator to test their observation and analysis abilities. Are you free here? It just so happens that the position in my hand has been given away, so I will continue to play with them. True Lord Ziyuan stood up gracefully, and suddenly remembered something, and asked tentatively, Liandu, have you ever thought about what the fairyland is like? Fairyland? True Lord Liandu asked in surprise, why do you suddenly mention this? If the average cultivation level in the fairyland is extremely high, and if mortal immortals like us go to the fairyland, our strength will be no different from that of ordinary people in the fairyland. True Lord Ziyuan said faintly, then what was the point of practicing hard for most of our lives? Chapter 699 I am the master of Tiangong Fang. After Ling Yunpo entered the pavilion, he successfully reunited with Zisu. I will not go into details about what happened next, as it was exactly the same as what Qiu Changtai had experienced. After leaving the secret realm, it was indeed the two big men of the righteous and evil ways fighting each other outside, and the immortals fighting each other with murderous intent. Ling Yunpo silently pulled Zisu, quickly merged with the sword, and rushed into the camp on the Shushan side. Immortal Jing followed closely behind, protecting the two immortal Xiuan and Tianqi, and evacuated from the battlefield. The head of Yuzheng saw it, and suddenly noticed that immortal Miaodan did not come out, and couldn't help frowning. When immortal Jing came to him and whispered a few words to him, the head of Yuzheng had a gloomy face, and no joy or anger could be seen. Kunlun evacuated first after receiving the people, and then Penglai. Because Shushan had a large number of people, it took a long time. Immortal Chanmei used the Liangyi microdust sword formation to fight 1 against 3, and barely protected the Shushan people and ran away. After returning to Mount Chu, the head of Yuzheng immediately informed the immortal Chanmei of the incident. The confession of Master Jing was not exaggerated. He told what he saw and heard truthfully, and finally gave his own judgment. Master Miodan was first killed by the devil in a sneak attack, and then killed by Master Jinxiao with a flying sword. The head of Yuzheng agreed with this judgment, but the matter was serious, and he had to report it to the Immortal Changmei. The Immortal Changmei was silent for a moment, and said, "Let the criminal law hall detain Master Jinxiao for trial." Will this be? The head of Yuzheng wanted to think whether this would be unfair to King Luo Peak, and then suddenly realized that King Luo Peak did not have a Yuning elder now, but Ziyun Peak did have an elder. Master Miodan died in the secret realm. Whether it was an accident or murder, they would have to give Elder Ming a proper explanation. Bring Master Jinxiao for trial. If it is finally confirmed that it was the devil who did it, it would not be too late to release him without guilt, which would be reasonable for Ziyun Peak. As for whether the Immortal Jinxiao would be wrong, I can only say that in the eyes of the Immortal Changmei, the Immortal Jindan has no weight. Coupled with the incident of Sujian, he had a bad impression of the Immortal Jinxiao. A mortal whose beloved wife Dave giving birth to a child hates his son because of this. The Immortal Changmei also hates his daughter because of his beloved disciple. They are all in the same mindset. But for Shushan, the Immortal Jinxiao is a second-grade Jindan. Even in cunning, a cultivator of the second-grade Jindan is treated like a treasure. The instructions of the Immortal Changmei cannot be violated, but the head of Yuzheng has secretly decided that if the Immortal really has any prejudice against Jinxiao, he must protect him out of his impartiality to Shushan. Otherwise, if King Luo Peak continues to be alienated from Shushan, problems will arise sooner or later. King Luo Peak. Senior Sisterin was finally taken away by the deacons of the criminal law hall. Ling Yunpa was not surprised by this, and even comforted Senior Sisterin not to worry. In his opinion, Sister Am's visit this time was probably to take notes and understand the case, and she should be released safely in the end. In this way, I can finally feel at ease. Looking back, when the elixir root was growing, I should have quietly retreated until I had completely broke through the root-seeking stage and promoted to the subtle stage. But after hearing about Sister Am's story, it was still difficult to settle down in the Jinline Cave Mansion. If I forced myself to suppress my uneasiness and continue to practice, I'm afraid there would be a big mess. Now that I have finally finished my mind, I will reload the file and continue to practice with Luo Yan. Ling Yunpa thought so, and ordered Kunlun Mirror. Jin, reload the file. Kunlun Mirror maintained a subtle attitude of seeing through but not saying it, and smiled. Okay. Point 3. Penglai King Temple, Tiangong Workshop. Character Identity. Luo Yan. Mirror Flower Water Moon template is overwritten, and is traveling through time and space. Back to Penglai Tiangong Fang, the time point jumped to before the Golden Palace Secret Realm, after Shilili returned from the ruins of Donghua sect. Luo Yan went out every day to breathe and refine Qi, study the way of casting, and help Penglai continue to adjust the sect protection formation. He also ran Tiangong Fang with Shilili. Although Yuan is still there, Shilili's temperament has become more and more like a young woman recently, and she no longer has the feeling of a young girl. There is a kind of calm and convincing feeling in every gesture. For example, it is like a wife who manages a big house and arranges everything in the house in an orderly manner, so that even if she speaks very plainly, the audience will unconsciously prick up their ears and patiently listen to her instructions. From a certain perspective, this makes Luo Yan a little uncomfortable. Who is the master of Tiangong Fang? It's like a politician prime minister who won the election openly, but has to succumb to the elite civil servants who use clever means to control him. But from another perspective, the beautiful secretary who can do everything for you perfectly also gives him a sense of satisfaction that cannot be faulted. Sometimes Luo Yan even thinks that he is still the master of Tiangong Fang, but he has delegated power to his young lady. If he wants, he can take back the power at any time. Thinking of this, he immediately feels much more comfortable. Tiangong Fang's recent sales performance has warmed up, mainly thanks to Shilili's flying sword business. The flying sword she casts is different from that of her senior brother Ling Dushu. The sealing formation on the sword is exquisite and meticulous. Of course, this is also inseparable from Luo Yan's help, and the efficiency of using true energy is very high, so it is quite popular among casual cultivators. If the flying sword cast by Ling Dushu is an American car, then the flying sword cast by Shilili is a Japanese car. Large displacement and fuel efficient, two different routes, each has its own audience and market. Luo Yan carefully looked at the accounts. Although the performance has not yet reached the grand occasion before Elder Shiding was alive, it is quite good to have a significant recovery. Have you finished reading? Shilili came out from the inner room. Today she changed into a light yellow short shirt, paired with a pleated and belted skirt, which made her look gentle and beautiful, making Luo Yan want to hold her in his arms and rub her head. What else are you looking at? Luo Yan threw the account book on the table casually. How can I not be at ease with the business handled by my wife? It's better to take a look. Shi Li advised seriously. After all, you are the owner of Tiangong Fang. It's better to be more familiar with the business. When junior sister Shiking comes in, she may have to ask you questions frequently. Shiking, a young cultivator from the Shi family in Guangling, is said to have a photographic memory. When Elder Shiding was alive, the Shi family had always wanted to send her to the sect. After Elder Shiding died, the Shi family had some hesitations, but was finally persuaded by Luo Yan and Shi Li. Now, according to the date, it is time to accept disciples on behalf of the master. Chapter 700 Shi Li's disdain. Although they were accepting apprentices on behalf of their master, and Elder Shiding was no longer around, the Shi family of Guangling still prepared a ceremony of sufficient size for apprenticeship out of respect for the Yuqing temple in Penglai. Needless to say, after the ceremony, Luo Yan and Shi Li took Shiking back to the Yuqing temple to complete the entry procedures. Although Shiking was still young and looked only about 28 years old, she was calm and steady, quite like Shi Li. However, after arriving at the Tiangong workshop, her expression finally showed a little nervousness, which made Luo Yan couldn't help but sneer in his heart. She is still a little girl after all. Let me introduce you first. Shi Li said gently. Our Tiangong workshop is famous in Penglai for casting instruments. In the past heyday, swords, tripods, zithers, mirrors, bottles, seals, pots, no matter what kind of instruments, it could be cast. Not bad. Luo Yan nodded in agreement. Now, there are 4 types left: sword, tripod, mirror, and seal. Shi Li glanced at her husband and continued, the Guangling Shi family is quite accomplished in space instruments, so we plan to arrange for you to study pot casting and storage making. Exactly. Luo Yan agreed. Among the many space instruments, the best-selling ones are storage bags, kaiban kum bags, and baibao bags. Shi Li ignored him and continued to talk to Shiking. Storage bags are very popular storage instruments. Most cultivators in the cultivation world have one. Kaiban kum bags are based on storage bags. Storage and retrieval are more convenient and quick. You can turn it around with just a thought. Basic treasure bags are based on kaiban kum bags. They strengthen the isolation and prevention of spiritual energy loss, so that spiritual herbs can be placed in them without rotting for 100 days. You should start with the refining of these 3 instruments. If you have mastered them in the future, we will consider the advanced way of pot casting. Is that okay? Of course, there is no problem. Luo Yan said without hesitation. Husband. Shi Li showed a gentle and elegant smile and said, if you have nothing to do, go to my father's study and get the classics prepared for the 4th senior brother. Okay. Luo Yan responded subconsciously. When he arrived at the study of Elder Shiding, he suddenly realized, well, was my wife dislike me just now? Tiangong Fan used to have a maximum of 6 disciples. The eldest senior brother Ling Shu successfully graduated and went out to set up his own school. The 2nd senior sister Lei Kain was a traitor in the hell and had rebelled. The 4th junior brother Shu and Shi had fallen. Now there are only the 3rd senior sister Liang Druo, the 5th senior sister Shi Li, and Luo Yan himself. If it were placed in some small sects with a fast turnover of personnel, it would be inevitable to re-rank them according to seniority and update them to the eldest senior sister, the 2nd senior sister and the master. But Luo Yan was not interested in these false names such as status and seniority. Even Shiking accepted disciples on behalf of the master, so she became a junior sister after entering Tiangong Fang. Junior sister Shiking's room was arranged in the original residence of Shi Wenshi, which was next to 3rd senior sister Liang Gruo. Luo Yan brought the classics to her room and saw Shi Li teaching her how to make a storage bag. You'll learn some refining techniques in the Shi family, which is good. But the requirements for refining magic tools in our Tiangong workshop are completely different from those in your home. The biggest problem you must correct is that you are too demanding on perfection when refining tools. Perfection is not bad, but perfection means high material costs and too much instability. What you have to do now is to master the casting skills by heart, that is, to be able to refine a large number of storage magic tools stably at any time at the lowest cost. When you reach the realm I mentioned, we will pursue in-depth research in the way of casting, such as refining a more perfect space magic tool, Luo Yan put the classics on the table, then pulled Shi Li aside and asked in a low voice, did you dislike me just now? No. Shi Li smiled. When you answer no, can you look at me? My husband, you're suspicious. Shi Li said gently, my husband, as the owner of Tiangong Fang, works hard day and night, and devotes all his energy. How can I dislike my husband? Luo Yan. Well, since he became the owner of Tiangong Fang, he has indeed not worked much. On the one hand, it is because he instinctively hates work and does not want to continue to be a social animal in this world. But on the other hand, isn't it because my wife is too perfect and has taken on most of the troublesome things? More importantly, although I was slacking off when I was Luo Yan, I was so busy as Qiu Chang's Han and Wei Don Liu that I almost worked around the clock, okay? Just based on this point, I have done my best. Seeing that he didn't say anything, Shi Li softened her heart a little and said, I know my husband is busy with cultivation, but Tiangong Fan was handed over to you by my father after all. If you can pay more attention to it, I will be satisfied. I'm not uninterested. Luo Yan defended himself, don't I maintain the sect protection formation every day? When my father was still alive. Shi Li stared into his eyes and said calmly, not only do I maintain the formation every day, but I also have to refine magic tools. I have to go out to visit friends and manage my network every few days. When I have free time, I have to come back to teach us. I was really ignorant in the past and often went out to play. My father was so busy, and he had to send people to find me outside, ahem. Luo Yan was speechless and could only cough awkwardly. Elder Shiding regarded casting as his life pursuit, so he became a workaholic. Look at the head of Ziwei. He lectures once every 10 days, and only lectures to the chief disciple. The rest of the disciples have to let the chief disciple teach on his behalf. The rest of the time, he basically stayed in the lecture room. Most high-level cultivators are like Master Ziwei, okay? You take your father as an example, there are not many people who can compare with him. He wanted to continue to argue, but Shi Li's eyes were too clear, so that Luo Yan felt that if he continued to quibble, it would only make her more disappointed. Forget it. Luo Yan surrendered, then what does my lady want me to do? Just tell me. Junior sister has just entered the workshop and has many doubts about cultivation. Shi Li said lightly, my husband is the master of Tiangong workshop. If you can give her a few more pointers, it will also help to establish your authority. This is simple. Luo Yan came to Shi King and said with a smile, Junior sister, if you don't understand something, just ask me. I do have a few places I don't understand, and I have to ask you, brother. Shi King pointed to one of the places in the scripture and asked, here, why does the material for refining the treasure bag have to be pre-treated with white porcelain clay? Luo Yan. Wait, you're asking questions about the formation. How can I know what material this is? Let me teach her. Shi Li watched for a while and sighed, my husband might as well take a look at this year's account book, which can be regarded as doing his best for Tiangong workshop. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone, see you in the next video.